Carrying my That's all like one fucking syllable.
All right, a toast to the fourth Modern Goonies podcast.
All right, touch the tips.
Hell yeah. All right, guys, hello, and welcome to the fourth episode of the Modern Goonies podcast. I'm your host, Trevor King Minor. And on the microphone today, I got my two good friends. One I've had on before, Chandler.
How's it going, everybody?
And I've got my really good friend, Zach, for his first official one, but his very first one that he had was the Practice Podcast, which is yet to be released. But, yeah, what's up, Zach?
How's it going?
There we go. All right, so
Can you hear me?
so we got some exciting news. So, for the people who've noticed already, we have started going to a bi-weekly podcast. It just gave me more time to edit some of the highlights and to make sure the video is ready to be uploaded to YouTube and get all the audio on Spotify and iTunes, which is something else. Our podcast is officially on Spotify, and as of now, which is July 12th, we are awaiting confirmation for iTunes, which that'll be pretty soon. So yeah, we're on several platforms: YouTube, iTunes, and Spotify. So definitely go check us out on all of those things. This episode will air August 5th because we are officially a whole podcast ahead right now. So tune in then to see this one. And if you haven't seen any of the other ones, the previous one was with my good friend Michael and Mark, and we talked a lot about science and the universe, a little bit of how science and religion can intersect, and it was a really good, it was a very intellectual podcast. We had a lot of really good conversations, so I recommend you go check that out. So from here, we'll just go right into it.
Yeah, no, I was wondering why you didn't do the intro music as, like, your music. I feel like that would be a good thing.
Oh, just like my own intro music?
Yeah.
Well, because when I made the intro, I was kind of bouncing around some music ideas, and I don't know, just the Modern Goonies thing, and then my favorite band is Modern Baseball, so I was like, and there's this one song in particular, which was this one. I was like, I really love that guitar. I guess it's a solo. Yeah, it's like a solo kind of midway through the song. Like I always really liked it, and I'm like, well, Modern Goonies, Modern Baseball, that's too perfect, so I just took that little thing and threw it in there. Right now, it's not a big deal, but later on, might be an issue.
To get around the, copyright shit, it would be good to do. I mean, and you also make music. It seems like you could literally make your own like little jingle shit.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Me, and then we have Sawyer, he's really good at recording music too, and he can do some of the solos and shit better than I can. So I mean, we could easily make our own intro. It was sentimental because I was like, hey, it had like a cool meaning behind it. So I'm like, all right, I'll use that. And the band's they're not very well known, so it's not like we're gonna get like an immediate copyright strike. We're not monetized, so we don't really have to worry about that yet. But later on, we might have to change it. And if so, it's no big deal. It's like I just go in and change the music.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's not a huge deal. It just seems like, it would be a good way to plug your own stuff, too.
For me, it's just a big pain in the ass to start recording music. I mean, because that's one of the things. I love playing music, but actually sitting down and recording it is infuriatingly tedious to me because you have to redo the same part like a million fucking times to get it right, to line it up with a metronome or to whatever. I fuck up so many times recording music that actually the process of me sitting down and getting in front of the microphone to record it, I want to blow my brains out because I just
like sucks all the fun out of it.
Yeah, because it's just very tedious. Play it, that was wrong. Hit the button, go back. Play it, wrong. You get all the way through, and especially the moments where you have to go like a minute straight of just playing, you can't really take a pause in between. It's like you get almost there, you fuck up on the last chord, like fuck, gotta go back, redo the whole thing. It's fucking annoying. I hate doing it, but the end result's always very satisfying because it's like, man, I did all of that. And so many fuck ups. People never see all the fuck ups and what goes on in the in-betweens, but the end result's always very satisfying because it's like, man, I put that all together. Like all my hard work finally coming to.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
That's why it's even more impressive for the bands that perform that sound like identical to the studio version.
Yeah.
Because some people don't like that, but if they are that good at doing it live, like imagine how long like each thing took, like how many takes, like
what I think
endless
is
amounts.
kind of more impressive is whenever someone's playing live and like they don't change up like the song like drastically, but they like change like the tempo like midway through the song, and like someone else like the rest of like the band members have to keep up with it, and they can just like match the tempo like on the fly.
Yeah,
because you don't really like plan those things out, but like you get going, and like if it starts getting like more like intense, kind of like when you like if someone like hits like a solo and they kind of like improvise a bit and like they speed up like the tempo of the song, then like the drummer has to match it and the bass player too, and they just like pick up with it. Like that's really impressive to me.
Yeah, that's one thing that is kind of a benefit when you do the whole band. There are some recording studios that are more high-end, and you can pretty much have the whole band in there recording their parts at the same time. Not everything, like vocals are pretty much isolated. You don't really want to record that with everyone around you, but you're able to kind of you can get that natural environment in with the song, so it's not as infuriating to go back and redo some stuff, but there are some that do it like each individual thing. Like when we used to record music as a band in high school, we had to go in and do each individual track separately, and that was just that was so painful to do. Because when you're playing the song, you can all play it together like perfectly, but I didn't have the equipment to record it all at once.
Yeah.
And yeah, it really sucked. It was very tedious.
But does it make a difference in sound quality? Like if you do it like isolated, like each like certain instrument plays their part, and then as opposed to like you all playing like the song together.
Well, for me, yeah, because I can't do multiple instruments at once. I can only do, with the equipment that I have, I can only do one at a time. But in bigger, larger, more professional grade studios, not really. Like they can get it down to where multiple people can play at once, and the sound comes out pretty good. But every recording artist is also different. So some, even if they have the equipment to do that, they still like to some people still like to isolate them.
Well, I was gonna say, because even I'm not super familiar, but every time that like Maynard James Keenan talks about the Tool stuff, like they do
it all separate.
They do it, yeah, super separate. Like, yeah, I've had the vocals done. Now they're just trying to like make the music to it, and it just seems like completely two different processes, which is kind of weird. Like, it seems like that wouldn't be like how most people do it.
Yeah,
but and I guess they have such a different process for how they do things.
Right.
That it would be too much conflict trying to everyone sit there and do it, because he seems like he gets pissed off whenever they take a year to do a song, and he like has the vocals and the song written out in like a few days, and he's like, what's the holdup?
So that also makes live performances better too, I think. It's like if you don't record like your album like all together, but I mean obviously you practice like all together, but then you get out and you play like the same song like all together super cohesively, like really shows like how good of an artist you are.
That's what you were talking about earlier about how people kind of change stuff on the fly whenever they're live. Mm-hmm. Like the guy I was talking about, Sturgill Simpson, apparently they do that a lot because they just get tired of like doing the same, like even if it's the same song, they'll just kind of bend different stuff like differently, or they'll sing it different.
Improvisations. Is that what you were? Okay.
And they just do it. And they have to keep it consistent. Like, but they're so good that it's just kind of like happens on the fly because they can play.
I feel like that's also like you just like get into the groove of it, and like you don't even think like you're just playing. And it's just like you kind of like once you hit like that zone and like you're locked into it, like
which would be super badass, like as a performer, to just get into that zone like every night and with your band.
Yeah, when we used to play, that was something that I really enjoyed and loved doing. Was, I mean, collectively, like you're all together and you're playing well, and the energy is just. I mean, we only played in some really small venues, I would say, and but still, just kind of like everyone like enjoying it, and we're all playing together, and we're sounding like really good, and we have all of our shit lined up. Yeah, just that energy, man. There's almost nothing. It's like a crazy adrenaline high. There's almost to me there was nothing that compared to it. Like getting up there, and so like the first couple songs, maybe you're nervous or whatever. You're going into it, and you're like, everyone's kind of shaky because like, no man, we're playing in front of all these people. Like I'm kind of scared. But then you get like 3 songs in, and you're comfortable up there, and people are kind of used to your sound, and then you're not even thinking about it. You're just playing with your buddies up there, and it's a lot of fucking fun.
Yeah, I feel like that's probably half of the fun is how nervous you are going in.
Yeah.
And then you kind of realize on stage, like, I'm not nervous anymore.
Oh yeah,
and then you just get comfortable. Like
it's like hitting a runner's high. It's really good. I always really enjoyed it whenever I finally got comfortable playing in front of people because there's just nothing that compares to it in my opinion.
That's how I feel. A lot of things that are intimidating at first, it's like a similar feeling. Like I don't know. One thing that I think about. Like, whenever I was in college, like, I hated, like, the first day of class where it was like, oh, well, we're going to go down the thing and someone can say, like, something about them and then we're going to go to the next person. Like, no one really likes doing it.
I hated that, yeah.
But unanimously, every time that has happened, if I have, like, made a conscious effort to, like, I'm going to be one of the first ones, if you, like, force yourself to do it and you go first, it's, like, insanely more comfortable than like sitting there waiting until you're the last one and you're just thinking about it the whole time.
Like, I don't know why I've only had that happen to me a couple times in college, but like I can see that like in grade school, but I don't know why some professors do that in college. Like unless it's a course that like really like demands like you all like getting like an active discussion, then like you kind of want to be open more with your classmates. But if it's like if you're in like algebra or something and your professor's like, all right, well, you need to like tell a little bit about yourself, like your hobbies and stuff. And then everyone gets done. They're like, all right, so chapter 1. And then they start doing equations for an hour straight. Like, it's like, okay, that's kind of pointless.
It's super pointless.
I think they do it because they think it's like an icebreaker and it'll make people be like, you know, less nervous. But it's actually like the reverse because no one wants to do it. And it just makes it more intimidating in a way to be in that class for that first, that first day, the syllabus day.
I honestly think a lot of the time it's just because most professors, like the first day of class, they don't have anything really on the agenda. It's like show up, and usually like most classes first day is like hand you your syllabus, talk a little bit about what the course is going to be about, and then you get out of there like halfway through.
Yeah, that's what I've always liked the first day just because I know I'm getting out of that hoe like at least like hour or like a hour, like half hour early. It's great.
The first week is usually awesome.
And then the next week is straight hell.
Yeah.
But I've had a couple of professors who jump straight into shit on the very first day, and every time I'm pissed off. I'm like, fuck this. Like, come on, man.
You cheated us of our free week.
Yeah, I've had that happen a lot.
I had some that in that first week you can get emails, like their very first week of professors being there have emailed me shit. And have been like, hey, have this filled out by the first day of class. I'm taking a grade on this.
Yeah, I've had that too.
And I too. And it's funny because, you know, a lot of people don't check their email. So you get there and half of the fucking class is freaking the fuck out because they're like, what? Oh, I didn't do that. And like, everyone's just losing their fucking minds.
I'm one of those people. My school year does not start until... If my class starts at 3 o'clock on a Monday, school year does not start until Monday at 3 o'clock.
I'm that way too. I had a class where the professor did that too. It was like a week before he emailed and sent us a document, and he was like, "You need to finish this. This is your first homework. It's due the first day of class." And it's basically like
some bullshit
to try to gauge like where you are. You know, like by just getting you more familiar with like kind of refresh, but also like gauging like if you're ready for what we're about to get into, like the first day. But I mean, I can see how it's kind of useful, but
it makes sense was like from the professor's
4-hour long homework, and it was brutal. Like,
what class was it for?
Okay, I didn't have anything like that.
Partial differential equations.
Okay, well, all right. Yeah.
It was like the hardest math class.
Zach's one of the smartest motherfuckers we know, so
it was.
We can't compare.
Brutal.
Yeah,
but I can understand it. But it's. I mean, you're not going to be a fan favorite if you start out with a homework the first fucking or the negative first week of class because it's not even class time.
Most of the professors that I had that did that, it was basic shit like, hey, this is all this bullshit information I don't want to deal with on the first day of class, so fill it out and turn it in and you're getting a grade for it.
Well, that's pretty nice. If it's easy shit and they're like, this is going to be like basically a free grade, then
that's how most of it was. I did have some that gave something, but that was the main thing. Is they're like, dude, I don't really want to go over all these bullshit, guidelines and stuff like that from the college. So just fill the shit out and give it to me the first day, and I'll give you a free grade. And
I remember we had that one class with Mr. Miller. Where he was like, we're going to have a syllabus quiz.
That was the economics teacher, right?
History. It was like U.S. history.
Was that the like he was kind of older white dude?
Yeah, like pretty old. Yeah,
super bald.
I think he ended up getting cancer.
He did. Yeah, he did.
But yeah, I mean, he was cool. He was a good professor, but he was like, yeah, we're gonna have a syllabus quiz. So just just read over the syllabus. And so like we read over the syllabus, but then he's like, okay, when is this due on what date and stuff? And it was like super specific details from the syllabus, and everyone fucked up. And I was like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever done. Like, this is not
like aside from having like kind of like asshole like moves like that, like professors, have you ever had like a class that's like super rigorous and it's really challenging, but like you don't really have like another alternative to like make it easier? Like it's hard and the professor makes it challenging, but like you do it and it feels like super rewarding.
No.
To be completely honest, I feel like that was how almost every class I took was, because I can count on one hand how many like pretty easy classes I had like the whole time I was in college. And
mine's the opposite. Like I can count like on one hand the really tough classes I had, and everything else just kind of
Well, yeah, but I'm sure that those tough ones are the ones you're talking about, where it's like it sucks at the time, but then I remember when I took Chemistry 1 whenever I was a freshman. For me, like, I mean, apparently at SMU, it's a lot harder than a lot of other places, because I've heard people talk about it like, oh, Chemistry 1 was easy, and ours was like the hardest class I took.
Chemistry in like my sophomore year at high school, like it was brutal.
Yeah,
chemistry was not my thing.
Do you have Wiley?
Yeah,
chemistry. Okay, well that's why. You know, some people say, well, okay, so like my dad was really big on school. Whenever I would complain about the professors or whatnot, I'm like, they're so bad, or they're making this fucking difficult. And he's like, no, you're just not putting in the work. And I'm like, okay. And then after my whole college career and high school and everything, I completely disagree with that statement 100%, because there are some teachers who make an easy subject seem absolutely insanely hard, because they
I feel like it goes both ways. But
well, yeah, for sure. But the professor
there's teachers that make it tough.
Yeah, the professor can make the class, like it can make or break the class. Because I had some teachers that just took very simple classes that I should have aced and made it like the most just brutal experience ever. So like one of the examples would be, our 8th grade algebra teacher. Like algebra is not hard. It's not hard at all. And looking back now, I find it so easy. But when I was in that class in 8th grade, just how fucking awful she was. Okay.
That's what it is.
Bleeping that.
Say it, dude. What? We're saying it.
Anyways, just how brutal she made that on everyone. Like, you couldn't stand up and sharpen your pencil without her yelling at you. And like, she would do, one example on the board, and then all the other ones that are clearly you have to work them differently. They're not the same as the one that she worked. She just wouldn't even show you how to do, and then give you all this homework over. And it was just... She was just an evil person. Just made it so brutal that, to me, algebra was the hardest fucking thing in the world. I was like, I cannot wrap my head around this.
To give her something, she was really cool outside of class. Because I ran into her a couple of times, even in the school, but like outside of class, like she'd be like, "Hey Chandler, how you doing?" or something. I'd just be like just like so taken aback that she's like not yelling at me for being a total dumbass.
No, I've talked to him about this before, and he disagrees. Yeah. He disagrees, and he's gonna give his opinion. But I agree with you, because shit, bleep. She was so evil to everyone in our class, just all the time. But anytime I went in for tutoring or any kind of after school stuff that I needed her help on, she was incredibly nice to me, and she would actually sit down and show me how to do the stuff, and she was super nice. But in class, just the most raging bitch I had ever seen. Like, it was just awful.
She never helped me in class, because I wasn't in because algebra was like the advanced class, because you didn't start taking that till high school.
Right.
And,
that's right. Yeah.
And I wasn't in it for like the first 6 weeks or something. And then I got my schedule changed so I could be in advanced math. Probably shouldn't have done it, because that's where I went downhill from math really quick. But I don't know if y'all had, but we had partners in class, and every day we would pair up with your partner, and we would work on problems together.
No,
and,
we didn't have that.
And my first one, I got partnered with the smartest girl in the class, but she was a total bitch, and she would start doing the problems, and I wouldn't know what to do, and she would try and explain it to me. I'm like, yeah, that doesn't make any sense. And I would just like write her answers down because we're like going a fucking mile a minute. And then she'd be like, yeah, he doesn't do anything. He just copies my answer. And then so I get placed with like the second to dumbest person in the class. And then we're just sitting there just
dynamic duo.
Yeah, we're just sitting there like holding hands, like praying throughout the whole class. Like test time comes and we like look at each other like puckering our assholes, getting ready to get railed by the fucking exam.
She just gives you like the really big crayon. You're just...
I mean, that's how I felt like in algebra.
Writing your shit.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's how I felt like after that, and then immediately any other math class just straight downhill.
Honestly, that's what makes me mad because I feel like there are a lot of people, and I've talked to Trevor. I mean, I've talked to a lot of people about this, but I feel like everyone can understand math. I feel like people, if you have a really bad initial experience with all of that stuff, it puts this thing in your head that this is out of my league,
like kind of mental block.
Yeah, because like, I mean, and this is, I mean, kind of random side story, but my mom has always been like that. Like my mom is like, yeah, I just can't do math, like, and she acts like ditzy about it, and I feel like it's like a defense mechanism. It's like this was hard a long time ago, and I just can't do it. It's like, no, if you like everybody, if you sit down and try to do like math for the first time, it's hard. But like, I mean, the most beneficial things in life to learn are going to be not
like where you just instantly get it.
Exactly. Like,
yeah,
that kind of harkens back to what I said earlier about like really tough classes that like you felt really accomplished when you did like when you performed like at like your expectations or better. Because I thought, like, after I was done with my, like, intro level, like, math classes, like, algebra and trigonometry, I was like, all right, I'm done with math for the rest of my collegiate career. And then my junior year in college, they're like, yeah, you got to take a statistics class. I'm like, all right, maybe a little bit of math, probably shouldn't be too much. And, like, when I get in there, like, they start doing, like, all these, like, equations that are, like, pages long. Like, I'm just writing, like, lines, and it takes, like, like, a whole, like, just a regular notebook page of paper to do like one problem, and it's just like super long and complex formulas, and like at first I'm just like, this just doesn't make any sense, but like fucking buckled down, like studied the notes, and like worked with like people outside of class and talked to my professor about it and everything, and she like worked really well with me. She was a good teacher, and like when I finally started getting it, and like I would do like wouldn't do great like on the test, but I expected to like go and like making like F's or like C's or stuff, and I'd make like high B's or something. Just like, fuck yeah, dude, I can do math. Dude, this is fucking awesome.
Honestly, that's the kind of thing that really makes me excited because, I mean, we've had a lot of people talk about like college is stupid or whatever, but like that right there is what college is about. Like, you might not remember those same statistics equations right now, but the process of, I don't think I could do this, I worked my ass off, I put in the work, and I understood it, like, that, I mean, and the reward that you get from that is...
It's not something that you learn, like, about, like, that specific subject. It's, like, a life lesson. Like, if you
100%.
Put in, like, the right amount of work to get your desired result and you get it and it's super rewarding, that's something that you just learned that you want to do, and it just kind of propels further into your life with whatever else you do.
Yeah, and from then on that it's not going to take just minimal effort to get what you want, because what you want might be this grade on this statistics exam, but later on that might be the raise that you want or the job that you want to get.
Right, it just teaches you work ethic.
Yeah, like, I mean, it's invaluable. That's why I hate, like, oh, yeah, college, they're not teaching you guys shit. Like, oh, yeah, I bet you use that now. It's like, motherfucker, it's not about using that now. It's about you didn't want to fucking put in the effort, and you chose that pessimistic quitter attitude, and that's why you're not getting where you want to be.
Outside of college, you can put that with just a lot of different things. You can do that with sports or, like, in the workplace or, like, anything like that.
Yeah.
I think that's something that's really kind of lacking in every generation. There's lazy people, but I think like a sense of work ethic, and especially since like with the experience I've had working when like managing like a restaurant, and I've had a lot of experience working with like people that are just like a few years younger than me. But I shit you not, I've had kids like, I'm like told, I'm like, hey, you need to mop the floor. They're like, how do I use a mop? I'm just like, what do you mean? Like, there's so much.
I'll be honest with you, I would hands down be one of those people.
I think I've
never used a mop in my fucking life.
I think there's a difference between people that are doing it because they're trying to just like draw out having to do work, but like sometimes with my work right now, I feel like I'm asking a lot of questions that might seem very obvious to someone that's done it before, but if you like some people just maybe have not, like, I remember when I was younger, but I didn't know how to like do the dishwasher or something because I just didn't do the dishes a lot, and everyone's like, you never fucking done the dishes? Like, well, if you've done the dishes, it's easy, but you can teach a monkey to do the dishes if you do it once. But if you have the desire that you want to do it, like, if you ask questions and then you
there's nothing wrong with asking questions either. That shouldn't be,
if you're just lazy motherfucker, it's different.
I had to have my cousin when I went to college show me how to do laundry because I had never done laundry in my entire life.
Well, yeah, and
like
some
ever.
People that happens to them at different stages. Like, for me, I thought it was late for me. Like, I was probably at like 8th grade or something. Like, that's for some people, if they've been doing it since they were in 6th grade or something, they're like, oh, this motherfucker never had to do anything. But then some people don't do it until they're in college. Yeah. So, I mean,
well, yeah, and my mom worked from home too. So, like, in her time off, she would do all the typical housewife stuff. Like, we never had to do anything, dishes, like any of that, because she was just at home, and that was one of her things was like she couldn't just be still and relax. She had to do shit. So when she wasn't working, she was cleaning the house or doing whatever. So it's like, it's not like I wouldn't have done it. It's just like that was something that was never really expected of me to do. So I never did it.
You're chore privileged.
Yeah, I'm chore privileged.
That's what it is.
Fucking slur.
I feel like for a while I was, pretty chore privileged, but then it kind of vamped up once we moved to my house that near you.
Yeah.
Like, before that, I didn't really do shit, really, but then when I moved there, that's when kind of the responsibilities came about.
Well, of course, so. When my mom died, like, I had to learn how to do half the shit because then it was just me, my dad, and Savannah, and we're like, well, shit, only one of us knows how to do all this stuff. Like, we have to work together because mom did all of this shit, so we have to figure this out.
Just all three, like, huddled around, like, the washing machine, just, like, trying to, like, figure it out. Just, like,
they're, like, fucking banging on it. Like,
there's, like, hammer and wrenches out.
That's what it was like. It was interesting.
That's one thing that I've told a lot of people this before, but I'm really glad, like, the way I was raised and, like, brought up, like, we're never, like, in need, but we never were, like, getting everything we wanted either. It was just, like, a good mix. But, like, I hated it, like, back then. But my dad was really, really good about, like, teaching me how to work to get things that I wanted. Because I would get super jealous of, like, all, like, it was really, like, petty stuff, like, back then, like, kind of, like, just kids, like, wanting, like, the newest thing. Like, I'd be mad that I didn't have, like, the newest, like, gaming system or, like, the newest, like, whatever, anything that all my other friends had, and they would just get it, like, as soon as it would come out. And I'd ask my dad, and he'd give me, like, the, like, complete, like, default answer, be like, hey, Dad, I want an allowance. He's like, well, I allow you to live under my roof and wear my clothes and eat my food. And, like, at this time, I'm like, he's a fucking asshole. Like, this is total bullshit. And then there'd just be days where I'd be doing, like, the most, like, bullshit work, and we'd be, like, out, like, all day. But I would always do, like, just, like, busy work, like, at home. And, like, my dad would give me, like, no reasons for it. He'd be like, grab that post hole digger. I'm like, I don't know how to use this. And he'd show me how to do it. And he would just ride my ass, like, all day. Like, I'm just doing, like, slaving out in the fucking 100 Texas degree summer heat, like, digging holes or, like, ditches and stuff. And, like, after we'd get done, like, I'd work for, like, 5 hours or something. He'd like, show me, he's like, all right, now this is what we're going to do. We're going to have to, like, build a fence here or something. And he would, like, go through and explain it. And then, like, afterwards, like, he might, like, maybe, like, a week later or something, he'd, like, buy me, like, a video game or something. I wanted to be like, here, he's like, that's your work for helping me with those post holes earlier. He's like, you put in work and you get something done. And I remember distinctly one time I was hanging out with one of my friends, like, during the summer, and it was maybe, like, my freshman or, like, sophomore year in high school, and they were pretty well off, and they were, like, going out to, like, I don't know, to go do, like, some fun shit, like, on the weekend or something. It was, like, a Saturday or something, and they're like, yeah, Chandler, you want to come with us tomorrow? They're like, we're going to go out. I don't know. We're going to go to, like, Six Flags or something. I was like, I can't. I was like, I have to work with my dad. And they're like, really? Like, what are you doing? I'm like, we're like, I don't know, hanging sheet metal or something. We're building something. I was like, I can't miss it. I was like, got to work with them. And he's like, wish my kids would do that. And so like, I feel like that's something that a lot of kids like don't have to experience, just working and like not getting immediate rewards from it. And that's something that you're going to experience all throughout your life, because you don't get immediate rewards while you're at work, but you have to work your entire life and there's no way around it.
Yeah.
And you have to learn that at a young age. I mean, not really super young, obviously, but at some point before you reach adulthood, you have to learn some kind of work ethic.
Yeah.
And if your parents aren't doing it, you've got to learn it somehow in school, like doing an extracurricular activity like sports or band or anything. But you have to build up some kind of work ethic to be any kind of remotely successful, unless you just make it by like dumb luck, like you're the fucking Dobre brothers or fucking Jake Paul or something. Then you just blow up for no goddamn reason. But
yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I kind of grew up a little bit like that. So my main work ethic that I had was in school. That was where I pushed myself really hard. I mean, that was really instilled in me from my parents. They're like, you need to take this shit serious, and we expect this of you. And so I always did my part, and I did really well in school. But I mean, I remember growing up, my dad wanted to fucking strangle me half of the time when he would do any kind of manual labor stuff. It just didn't click with me. I couldn't, like, he would ask me to help him out with stuff, and I just had no idea. Half the time I just get in the fucking way because I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. And none of the stuff he had ever said to me made any fucking sense, and it just bored the fuck out of me. So like, I just never. I know he wanted to, because my dad's he's a super hands-on guy, and he's a big troubleshooter. There's a problem, he wants to figure it out, he wants to fix it himself. And I'm the kind of guy, I'm like, dude, fucking call somebody. Like, I can't deal with this shit. But yeah, and like, I wish I would have taken on some of those lessons a little better, but as a kid, that's just how I was. Like, I just couldn't. It wasn't one of those things. But in school, that's where I would say excelled and really did push myself, because there were some of those classes that just beat my ass, and I was like, no, I have to do this. And I remember people would ask me, be like, dude, you're super smart. Like, how do you love school and stuff like that? I'm like, I fucking hate school. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I have to do this, and it's for my future, so I'm pushing myself. I'm trying to be as good as I can be.
Well, that shows off too, because you're pretty disciplined now. Like, I mean, you have a weekly like routine. Like, you go to the gym all the time. You're pretty dedicated to like learning like instruments and practicing guitar and stuff. So I mean, it does show off. It might not be in like knowledge of like handiwork, but I mean, it shows off in other facets of your life.
That's why I don't like some people think that you have to follow, like, let's say if someone gets successful doing something a certain way because they had certain experiences, like, it doesn't have to be a cookie cutter. This is the only way. Like, I think it's just more important that you have something that will motivate you to work hard. Because I mean, like, it's like, okay, everybody loves the underdog. Everyone loves to see someone come up. But once you get to the top, all everyone wants to do is see you fall. And it happens throughout history. So everyone wants to see Sam Walton make himself a millionaire and a billionaire and start a huge corporation. But then they're like, oh, fuck Walmart. Like, oh, like, his kids are just living off of his money and stuff. Well, I mean, all the time, like, imagine if you had kids and you worked your ass off your whole life and you made money to where they could have it better than you did, which is literally everyone's goal, is for their kids that have something that you didn't have, or to provide something. And then
you want to try and make your kid's life in some way better than what yours was.
But yeah, so it's like, okay, you can either look at it like, well, they're just well off, like they don't work hard or whatever. I mean, some people start off with $1 million and they turn it into $1 billion. So some people start off with $1 billion and turn it into $20 billion. So, I mean, people just have to find something that motivates them. Like, for me, like, some of the stuff you're saying with your dad, like, I wish I had some of that. Like, you know, maybe not at the time because it's a pain in the ass and it's hard shit, but, you know, like, my parents split up when I was 12, and then, which is kind of entering into the meat of your life, like, 7th, 8th grade, high school, like, that's kind of coming of age stuff.
Yeah, that's right when you're going through puberty and you're really like starting to like kind of form who you are.
And I never had like I don't know how to jumpstart a car. Like I want to have those times where my dad will pull me outside and, son, this is how you jumpstart a car. Like I pretty much taught myself how to change a tire. Like I just kind of like figured out how it was, but like I'd never have like come out here like we're gonna learn how to change a tire. Like I mean, it sounds weird, but what motivated me was like, you know, growing up in a lot of that bullshit was I don't want my kids to ever have to deal with any of this shit. Like
not knowing how to do something,
or no, like I mean, so there was like a time like, you know, whenever my parents were together, we had, you know, nice house, dock, pool, like pretty good house and stuff. After that, like shit pretty much hit the fan. We were living in a like tiny house in West Walkeny, like piece of shit. Like then we moved in with my grandparents and I lived there for like years, like sharing a room with my sister. Like, and I just always had a drive to do to for me it was to make money, because I thought like, you know, the whole problem with all this is that my mom doesn't have enough money for this, or like, and I'm like, I don't want my kids to have to worry about this. I don't want my kids to be dealing with this bullshit, or like I don't want, like I see my mom struggling paycheck to paycheck, like I want to not have them worry about any of that shit. Like I want them to have like a suburban fucking life, like, so that's what motivated me a lot. And I didn't have like those manual labor type lessons and stuff, which I honestly now like really wish I did, because I mean, if you asked me to like go weed eat the lawn, I'd be like probably looking at the fucking weed eater for 30 minutes, like trying to figure out how to start the weed eater. And like, I'm not a dumb guy, but if you've never done a weed eater and no one has told you how to use a weed eater, like you're not gonna just instinctively know. And it's, I don't know, then you kind of feel goofy. Like, you're a grown-ass man, you don't have to know how to do, like, certain things that I would think that, you know, grown men should know how to do.
Thank God for YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I YouTube everything. Like,
I do, too. If I'm really, like, not sure on something, like, I'll YouTube. I'm like, there's got to be someone else asking this question, too. Someone's got to make a video about it.
And there is always.
Yeah, 99% of the time.
Yeah. But,
yeah.
I mean, it's just... Yeah, I wish I had a lot of those things, but now I don't know, it kind of goes back to, I just think that if you can find something that motivates you, it doesn't, like you were saying, you didn't have to do a lot around the house, but there was just something in you that was like, I don't know, it might have been different for you or whatever, but I mean, everybody wants to have the big house, everybody wants to have the chiseled body, but they don't want to wake up at 5 a.m. and go run 5 times a week. So, I mean, it's like literally just like, are you willing to put in the work that's required to get what you want? Like,
it's just discipline, because
yeah,
a lot of people just get really complacent with their life, and that just carries out like throughout your whole life, and then by the time you get to where you're 40 or 50 and you're sitting there thinking, man, I really wish I would have done like this, or I really wish I would have done that, or anything. I wish I would have, you know, started that idea that I had for that small business or something earlier.
I think some people just, it's like you either have it in you or you don't sometimes, though, because you can be the son of a millionaire and be like, why the fuck am I going to do anything? Like, I can just chill. Like, this is awesome. Or you could be the son of a millionaire and be like, I want to make my million. And you can use that to your advantage, obviously, but you can make something of yourself separate from that. Like, it happens all the time, but there's two sides to the coin. Like, there are a lot of people that just fucking ride in and not have to do anything, and they're cool with putting in no effort. And
I also think that kind of falls onto the parents too. Like, not totally, because you can't really a parent can't force your child to be determined and have a drive to do something or to better themselves. But even if like you're a really well-off family, like you don't even have to be like a millionaire, but like your kids are like never in like need of like anything, like you don't have to live paycheck to paycheck or something, you still don't have to spoil your kids.
Yeah, that's true too.
You can take care of your kids and give them a good life without making it a regular like habit of constantly having things that other families wouldn't have.
Setting a precedent that you don't have to put any work and you're going to get things, whereas it should just be like if you had the means where you could do those things, like, okay, yeah, you want a new PlayStation, well, you're gonna have to work for it, like, instead of just, yeah, here's everything that you ever wanted just because you asked for it. Like, it's just, yeah, like you said, from the beginning, it's this idea of whether or not you're going to have to work your ass off to get what you want or not. Like,
yeah, I feel like it definitely does. I at least in a small part, kind of fall on the parents, because, you know, my big thing is I wanted for not growing up. I mean, my dad, my parents we weren't rich, but I grew up moderately wealthy, I would say. Like, there was never something, if I wanted it, I pretty much got it. That's how I grew up. But at the same time, my mindset that my dad had, I mean, my dad is a dude who busted his ass to get to where he was. I mean, we went from living in a mobile home, my dad working 2 jobs to fucking support us, to now he's a high up at a company. We lived in this nice ass house. Like, he worked from the bottom up. So my dad always had this mindset that, no, you're going to fucking work for, like, in some regard. And so that was his thing. His thing was like school. At least for me, because he saw that's what I was good at, I guess. And that's what was expected of me, was to, no matter what, bring home good grades. And so if I lacked, or if I didn't do what I was supposed to, I mean, shit, I remember one time I brought home a C, because, I mean, quite honestly, I didn't really do what I could have done to do better in that class. I just kind of made excuses. And he was like, oh no, this ain't cutting it. And he, I mean, hardcore lockdown grounded me. I mean, took my TV out of my room, fucking took my guitars. I wasn't allowed to have like any hobbies or anything. I couldn't go outside. I couldn't hang out with friends. I couldn't go to any of school functions, like nothing. The only thing I could do was just study. He was like, no, this is important. This is what you need to do. And so that was the thing. Like, if I wanted something, yeah, I wanted for not, but everything I did, I earned in a way, because it was like, hey, I'm doing good in school. That was what was expected of me. And if I lacked in school, I got nothing. And he took it away from me. And that's how I grew up. So yeah, I feel like it is a bit of the parents' responsibility to instill that in you in a way, like, hey, you know, you might not be good at this or that, but in some regard, you do need to have some kind of ethic, like work ethic in general. And that was mine. That was what was put on me as a child. And, yeah, I mean, I'm grateful for it. I think that was something that was really important for me to have, and it taught me discipline, and it taught me structure, and I feel like a lot of people need that in their lives to be able to better themselves.
So maybe it's that you're obviously the parent's not responsible 100% like all the way while you're growing up.
No.
But they need to plant the seed for it and like
right.
show
yes.
you like how to do it, and then
yes.
as you grow and mature, then you get to what Zach's talking about, where you find like something that really drives and motivates you, and then
yeah.
you have the work ethic and the mental capacity to reach that because you learned at a young age to work
yeah.
for what you want.
And it doesn't fall completely on the parents. I'm not one of those dudes. You can do everything right as a parent. Teach them everything that you think you're supposed to teach them, and everything in that regard, and they can still be just a lazy piece of shit who doesn't want to
just grow up to be assholes.
They don't give a fuck. They don't care. They don't want to work or be motivated, and they're bums. That happens too. So it's not completely on the parents, but right. I do think you as a parent have a responsibility to instill some kind of value in your child. And you can only do as much as you can, as much as that. Be like, this is really important. I'm going to do my best to fucking teach this to you. And at the end of the day, I did my part, and it's up to you to run with that part. Because, yeah, and at the end of the day, that's all you can do as a parent. Because it is up to you in a way to take those lessons and be like, you can be that guy that's like, oh man, fuck this, like I hate this, why is he treating me like this, fuck it all, I don't want to do this. Or you can be the guy that's like, man, this fucking sucks, like, and you can take it and you can learn from it and you can understand why it is that they're doing that. Like maybe when you're 10 you don't get it, but then like you grow up later and
right.
you're like, oh shit, okay, like and like the things that you had instilled in you younger.
Well, that's exactly what happened to me, because like when I'm like 10, 11, 12 years old and I'm out in the blazing sun just like digging holes for whatever reason, unbeknownst to me, I'm just slaving my life away to my dad, and then I don't really get any like small rewards, if any, But then whenever I start working and I was like sweating my ass off, like washing dishes, that was my first job, was a dishwasher at a restaurant. Like I did not mind like working. And even when I was in sports in high school, like I was always one of like the people that was always working out, and I was super dedicated because I wanted to be better, and I was not afraid to like put in work to want to do something because my dad had been teaching me how to work to get what I want. And even if it's like small rewards, then it's still worth it if you're putting in the right amount of effort. And that's something that's like kind of carried throughout my working career that I've had, just like moving throughout my company or whatever, even though it's, it's nothing big, but I've just never had like problems working. Like I've worked like 60, 70-hour weeks, which are hell, and I don't ever want to do it again. I don't recommend it, but I could do it. Like I can work. I'm not a stranger to work, and I think that some people just lack that kind of mindset. But you don't have to be accustomed to doing that type of thing, like going way above and beyond, but you need to have something. Well, life is a struggle. There's no way around it. When
the going gets tough, the tough get going.
I mean, it's cliche, but it's tried and true.
Yeah.
I completely agree with what you're saying, because with me, whenever I was younger, like the common thread, like it wasn't even a question. It was like from the time, like as long as I can remember, it's you're going to college, you're going to get a good education, like. And it was just it was burned in. Like, it was like, anytime anyone said anything, you're going to college, right? So, in school, my parents never even asked me, how, like, you staying on top of your grades? Like, they didn't come home and open up my report card and make sure, like, because, I don't know, it's like they knew that I was doing it. Like, I was just locked in. Like, I had a motivation, like, early on, and I didn't, like, some people need that. Like, some people need their parent to be like, did you do your homework today? Like, are you doing this for this class? Blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't think my mom knew what classes I was taking. But it's just that I knew from the beginning what I needed to do. And like you said, like, I ran with it. Like, you take, like, a fundamental thing that is instilled in you, and then you kind of find your stride, and then you recognize what needs to be done.
Yeah.
And then you do it. And that's why I sympathize with people because there are a lot of people out there where they come home and their parents are telling them, oh, college is stupid. They don't know shit, blah, blah. What are they going to teach you up there? Dumb, like, liberal bullshit, like, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, people have had that experience their whole life. So I can understand why they don't pursue education, or like they fall into these just like jobs that they don't really like doing, just like whatever fucking bullshit jobs that they just have found themselves in, because from the beginning there's been this hostility instilled in them for education or college, or like, I mean, I know a lot of people, especially where we're from, that's happened to them, and it's like, what do you expect the kid to do at that point? Like, I mean, yes, you hear the success stories of like, I grew up like that, but I just knew what I had to get done. But, the majority of the population, if you put them in that situation, like, you're going to be like, that shit's stupid. Like, I mean, that's what your parents are telling you from the beginning.
Yeah.
Like,
I feel like that just causes a snowball effect, because if let's say that one kid, like, who's always been told, like, his whole life, oh, you don't need to go to college, it's bullshit, like, you just need to work hard at what you do or whatever it is. And
I didn't go to college, and
look at my double wide trailer. It's great, ain't it? And then I don't know why we're giving this person like a hick accent too, kind of. But
well, I feel like I would say most of the time, because that's the profile.
It is fitting, like, but I would say that most of the time, like, that kid's gonna grow up believing in those ideals, and then they're gonna live out how their parents were and become that person, and then it's just going to repeat itself. And when they have kids, they're going to say the same thing. My daddy didn't go to school, and I didn't go to school, and look what we got. We built it ourselves, or like anything, and then it just keeps going, and then your family just doesn't try and reach up and get more than what the previous one did.
I feel like it works. Like, there will be people that are like that, and they say fuck all that bullshit, and then they'll work construction, and then they will end up owning a construction company. Like, if you're motivated, you can get things done if you work your ass off. But as a whole, on average, of the people that are told from the beginning, like, that shit's stupid. Those are the people that are going to work at Arby's until they're 35. Like,
I feel like as a parent, Arby's sucks.
I mean, of all places you could have said Arby's.
I mean, yeah, it's you hate to see it, but
I feel like as a parent, like, you should never have a sort of pessimistic view towards trying to motivate your child to do better. Like, you should never tell them like something that they shouldn't do or they can't do. Like, you should always be encouraging, especially at a younger age too. Like, obviously, like, if your kid's like 25 or something and they're like living in your basement and they're just like, yeah, I think I'm just gonna, just do coloring books, I don't know. I think it'll take off at some point or something.
It's very Lukens field for sure.
But I mean, if at a young age, like, you shouldn't try to instill into your child that they can't do something. It should always be, you should do this. You should do better than what I did. And that should always be the idea that's in the child's head. I feel like maybe could be something like where the parent, like, it's a pride thing maybe. Like where they know like that they're not in the best position. And I don't know like why you wouldn't want to see your children flourish and do so much better than you. Like, whenever I have kids, I would love to see them have everything that they want, like, at a young age, and I shouldn't be the person telling them that they can't do it or they can't do it this way or take this avenue because I didn't do it.
I think it's a big snowball effect, like, for the same things you were talking about. Like, I feel like, at least with us three, like, your dad is a painter. He works in like insane heat, fucking all kinds of bullshit all day. Like, your dad has been working his ass off forever. My dad's a mailman. Like, he's
a quartermaster, right? Isn't that or postmaster?
Yeah,
excuse me,
no, quartermaster.
No, he is not. He's not a postmaster.
He's a side blacksmith, up and coming.
Yeah, he fucking like every day
slinging that mail
around. Yeah, like in Texas,
fighting the pooches.
Yeah,
pit bulls in particular.
By dogs. Yeah, but I mean, yes, not necessarily like affluent beginnings on any of the cases, but there is just this inherent like instilling of you need to work hard, or either not even like saying you need to work hard, but just by you in your life seeing that they are working their ass off all the time. It's like something that kind of slowly gets ingrained in you. But if you had a parent that like didn't give a fuck or is lazy themselves because they have had the same experience from before,
if they're like living on like unemployment checks or something, versus like you see like your parent like come home, like it doesn't have to be physical, but like I would see like my dad comes home like pouring sweat and he's like been working out in the heat all day, and I see that he's working, and then the things that we have, like, we're not well off, but we're alive and we have the things that we need to survive, and we're not ever in need of things. And I can physically see like how it comes to that, because he comes home every day and he's tired and his back's hurting and he's covered in sweat because he's working. But if I would have had it where he's sitting at home like collecting a check every month for like unemployment or like a disability check, and he like doesn't work because he's like running around the system or something, or or he just doesn't have a job or anything, then I think like growing up, well, I mean, I have whatever I need growing up, and my parents don't do much and they just kind of sit around and do nothing. So, I mean, this should be the same for me. Yeah. And it's like, and you don't have to tell your kid that, but they see it. Kids see a lot more than we expect.
Well, and it's something that you don't realize. It's like what you've been talking about before with the work and stuff. Like, at the time, you don't see it. At the time, or at least on the surface, you don't see it. You see it as, why the fuck am I out here? This is bullshit. It's hot. Like, I don't want to do this. But then later on, you realize that was important. And so it's like, at the time, you don't think about, oh, what is my dad doing today? But in that moment, by seeing those things, you've kind of been being prepared for a long time of seeing what, like, this is what needs to be done to get things done. And then as you get older, then you understand it, and then you're like,
and then you can apply it to your own life.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you don't see that growing up, then you have no way to achieve the things you want, because you could have the vision in your head, like, I want to have, like, you know, like, I want to have a nice 2-story house in a nice, like, suburban area, and I want to drive a nice car and have a nice family. But then when you're growing up and you don't see, like, how to reach that, because every day when you come home, you're being told, like, you don't need to do this or you don't need to do that, that's not going to make money. Or even if you're not being told it, you just see it, of laziness, like, that you're surrounded by, then you don't know how to attain those goals. I think it starts off at a really young age, and it's something that just carries on throughout your life.
Yeah.
And once you hit, like, that late, like, development stage, like, once, like, you're past, like, 18, like, you get, like, through college, like, that's what worries me the most when I'm in college and I see, like, the most, like, lazy, like, students. Like, I remember there was one time I was in, like, a sociology class, and it was super easy. I don't know about anywhere else, but when I took all my sociology classes, there's a few that were pretty tough just because it's kind of an oddball subject, but it was like an intro level class or something. It's just like
super easy.
Yeah, like, you could just bullshit your whole way through it. And, like, the professor, like, told us, like a week, like, prior to this incident, like, hey, we've got a test, like, next Tuesday or something, and they give you, like, the study exam that looks exactly like the test, like, the same answers, and, like, and he gives you, like, the answers for every question. It's, like, exactly the same. So, like, literally, like, memorize the study sheet and you make 100 on the test.
Yeah.
And it's the easiest thing possible. And we were sitting in class, and the professor's like, all right, y'all take out your Scantrons and your pencils. We've got an exam today. And this kid sitting next to me, like, looks over, he's like, we have an exam today? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, well, he didn't tell us this. I'm like, he told us like a week ago. And he's like, well, I wasn't here for that. Like, I don't know. He's like, well, this is, and he was like getting like so upset and like butthurt about it. I'm just like,
oh,
dude,
I love those
I'm
people.
Like, this is literally like the lowest like standard of like a class that you could have, and I don't know how like you fuck it up. Like, when I see those people, and I just like, that's what makes me appreciate my coming up, because something that's like super easy that people have like just no desire to do, or like the laziest things, like discussion board posts, like the easiest thing in the world. Like, they're stupid. No one likes doing them, but they're so easy. Like, just
a monkey could do it.
Yeah, just sit down, take 15 minutes to do a discussion board post and do it. But there's people that will fail a class because they don't want to do a discussion board post because they're lazy. And that stuff just baffles me.
Dude, it's not even classes like that. Like, even in engineering, it'd be like, I have had people where it's like, okay, you've done well the whole class, and you can make an A in the class if you do good on the final. And they're like, well, I'm already set. I can make, like, if I fail the final, I'll still make a C. And they just don't fucking care, don't study, and then make like a fucking C- or something in the class from the final. And I'm just like, I don't understand the thought process. It's like, if you put in all that work up to this point, it's like you've been working this whole time. That way you could have one little moment of, I can fucking be lazy and jack off and fucking not have to worry about it. Like, or you could just invest a couple more days and get what you really should deserve and earn. But it's just like trying to find like, what's the best way I can cut this one corner?
The easiest way out.
Yeah, like where's the closest corner I can cut so I can
what's the best
cut
way to cut this one corner?
Yeah, I mean it's just like, I don't know, I don't understand the laziness. It's like so weird.
That's happened to me just one time in college, and it was actually last semester, because I'm sure you probably remember it. I don't know if you do, Trevor. I was talking in the group message. I was freaking out because I made a D in a class, and it was the first D I've ever made in college. I've made a couple C's, and that was really just from like tough classes, and I just struggled in like that statistics class. I made a C, but I mean, I made a D in it just because I had a surgery, and so I kind of fucked around for like the couple weeks where I was just like at home, like fucking doped up on hydros, just like sitting in bed being miserable. But whenever I like found out like I made a D, and like I was like calculating my grade like the last couple weeks, and I was like, even if I make like 100 on the rest of my assignments, like these little like small things that I missed because I was just being lazy, like led up to this. I was like, there's no way that I can not make a D in this class. Like I felt so sick to my stomach because I was so mad at myself that I fucked around and I just completely blew this. And like most people like don't care about their GPA or something, but like, mine's like not great, but like I knew that it would be a detriment to it. I think I had like a 3.6 something, which like isn't fantastic, but it's not horrible either.
I would say that's pretty good for like most everybody. Like, I mean, it kind of probably goes back to what you're saying about the laziness, but I think you have to really be fucking up to get under a 3, but people do it.
Yeah.
And a 3.6 is damn near honors.
Well, to finish that, like it dropped from like a 3.6 to like a 3.53, and I was nauseous for like a whole night just because and I couldn't sleep that night because I was just thinking about it, and I was beating myself up because of how lazy I was. I was like, my thought process, like at the time, like not doing my assignments, I'm like, this is like my second to last semester. Like I'm just so fucking sick of this. Like I just want to be done with it. And like immediately, like in that situation where like I didn't do like that one like quiz where I was like, it's just like, a 20th of like my grade, and then it stacks onto like the next week where I'm like, it's just one discussion board post, and then that domino effect like culminates into me making a D, and then I see that lower my GPA. I felt so bad for myself, and I feel like some people like don't see that and like they just don't care. Like they'll make like a 30 on a test and they're like, like that.
Yeah, I don't understand it.
No.
I don't know. Like even at like this point, like do you think like that's something that like that can be changed, or is that person like just set in stone? Like at this point, like once they've like become so accustomed to like doing like poor or like mediocre, like at this point, do you think that there's a redemption point for them?
I do. I think people respond well to getting their ass kicked by something, and no matter what it is. But for me, like I was saying younger, like when my parents got divorced, like that was a huge kick in the ass for me. Like I went through a bunch of bullshit. Trevor's been through a bunch of bullshit. You've been through a bunch of bullshit. But like, I mean, my brother, I think for the longest time he was like that way too. He just fucked around, didn't even know he was going to college. Like I think he spent a few years after he graduated high school just like fucking off, like didn't even know if he was going to go. But someone gave him a shot and he got in there, and it was just kind of like he realized that he needed to get his shit together, and then he ended up doing well in college, getting a good job. But it's like some people just have not had the kick in the ass yet, and eventually life is going to give it to everybody. And so when if you fucked around in college and you have a 2.5 or something and you can't get a job, then maybe that's your kick in the ass, and then maybe you have to go back and fucking work your ass off more or get a different job, but eventually the kick in the ass is what forces people into doing.
I feel like it makes or breaks you, honestly, as a person, because I feel like that's the main thing that makes people who maybe were unmotivated before or didn't really want to do a whole lot, is that major like life just completely fucks them one way or another, and they're like, man, that sucked. I don't ever want to be like that again, so I'm going to change my perspective or or my discipline or whatever the fuck I'm doing on this to make this a better situation. And I feel like those moments make or break you, because then you have the flip of that. Then you have that these people get that major kick in the ass, and it's like, hey, this could potentially motivate you to do something better, and they're like,
and they just stay in,
and they're like, well, man, life just fucked me, and they just don't do anything about it. And like that's to me is the moment where it's like you were asking, is there a point of redemption? I think that is the point of redemption, because it's like, okay, are you going to take something from this, or are you going to wallow in it and just be the same person you always were, and then just never be any better off from this horrible situation that was given to you? Because you can get a shit hand dealt to you in life, but you can flip that shit around. You can always take something good from it. No matter how fucking shitty it is, you can take something good from it. But if you don't have that mindset, or you aren't able to recognize that or run with it in one way or another, then there's a fundamental flaw in your perspective on life.
More basic cliche terms, it just really boils down to, it's time to nut up or shut up.
I mean,
yeah, it really does. I mean, it's funny, like people use it comically, but that's really what it is. That I guess like the smallest point.
A lot of people just respond poorly to failure, like, and you can apply it to any stage of your life. Like, you might be working your ass off for a certain promotion, and you might put everything you have into it, and you might not get the promotion. Some people, they go into freak out mode, and they just are like, you know what, I'm done. I'm not putting forth that effort again, and then they just fall off the deep end. But then some people are like, you know what, I'm gonna work my ass off even fucking harder, and now next time you get there. But I mean, it's like that way in sports, it's that way in school, it's that way in, like, oh, you know, I worked my ass off for this exam and I fucked it up. Like, yeah, I've worked my ass off for an exam, like studied for 2 weeks straight for an exam, went in and made like a 62, and you leave there like you just feel like helpless. You're like, I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do, and then you keep putting in the work. You keep, like, if you don't let it get you down, and you keep if you keep showing up every day and punching your fucking card and putting in the work, like, it will work out eventually. Like,
stack dimes
100% of the time.
Yeah.
So, but some people just, at the first sign of adversity, they kind of like go within themselves and they let it beat them, and I feel like that's ultimately what separates people from, if you end up being successful or getting the things you want done, or, like, you know, you could be on a good diet for a while and lose 2 pounds and be like, you know what, I'm just gonna eat what I want, and then you end up gaining 20 pounds. Or you could be like, you know what, I'm gonna go even harder, and then eventually you lose 3 more pounds, 5 more pounds, blah blah blah, and then you lose what you want to lose. Like, it's.
Do you think that's something that's taught over time, or more like genetic based?
I honestly, that's what I'm saying. I at the beginning, I honestly think that some people have it and some people don't, because I have seen people that they react a certain way, and it might be learned, but it might be.
I'll let you finish that, but I think it could be both.
I agree, because I think there are some people that, you know, they've been given a shit hand and no one believes in them, and then it's like that one person can kind of make them believe in themselves, and then you see this shift in their life. But some people, I don't think it ever clicks. I mean, well, not I don't think, like, some people, it just doesn't ever click. And I mean, it's hard to say whether or not that they just have this, you know, predisposition towards that, or if a particular set of circumstances has guided them in that direction. Because I mean, you can never really tell, like, what the whole line of life, you know, experiences have happened to them that have led them to that point. But I mean, some people, I think it's just kind of in them. Like, I mean, you know, the second you think you're working hard, there's like one guy that
there's always someone that's
5 times a week.
There's always someone that works harder than you do.
Right. So, you know, and whether or not that person, because I feel like some of those people, like these ultra marathon runners, I think they were born with that. Like, they were born with this fucking bulldog, like, insane work ethic. Like, I mean, yeah, they might have had guidance towards that, but, you know, there's a lot of people that got ridden their lives, like, you know, you need to work hard and shit, but they're not out there, like, doing these insane things. So I feel like it's kind of like anything else, like athleticism. Like, you could train your whole life. Like, you're not going to be LeBron James, because LeBron James was born into, like, he was dunking a basketball in, like, 6th grade. Like, yeah, he worked his ass off, but he had a very big advantage in the physical gifts he was given. I feel like some people were given mental gifts. Some people were given like, I don't know, work ethic gifts. Like, I think some people just don't have as good of a work ethic as others, just from the beginning.
There's some, like, qualities in a person that's not quantifiable that we can physically see. Like, you can, like, with your example of, like, athleticism, like, obviously, like, if someone is born into a more athletic body and that's how they grow, they're obviously going to be better than you at athletics. But there's just, like, some kind of innate thing that's a drive that's in someone that you can't measure, and you can't really compare it to other people, but you know what it is that's inside of you, and you can't compare it to other people. You just have to realize what it is and then use it as a tool. And I feel like there's a lot of things that's like that within people. Like you said, you can be, like, mentally stronger than other people. You can be spiritually stronger, and there's a whole lot of facets about characteristics of people that we can't see, we can't measure in like a type of like number way or anything like that.
It's not quantifiable.
Yeah.
I mean, even with like knowledge or like intelligence, like yes, there are metrics that you can measure like certain things, but it's, you know, it's to a point. Like there are people that, I mean, I think it was on the Joe Rogan podcast recently, they were talking about it, but like intelligence, like, okay, yeah, like you might score in the top 1% on the ACT, but, you know, Paul McCartney might not have scored that much on the ACT, but he created some of the most, like, I don't know, revolutionary music in the history of the world. And that requires a different kind of intelligence, but it's not something that you can put into a number on a piece of paper. Like, it's just something that you have to see through people's works. Like, and I mean, if people have no desire to put in any kind of work, then I mean, it's hard to really see what's going on in their head because.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I feel like there's a big thing as far as like the development of a person. It kind of comes down a lot to your mindset and also how you view failure. Because I feel like for a solid 90% of people, the reason they don't do or reach the potential that they could potentially reach is because of a fear of failure. And I feel like that's in a lot of us, and even the people who aren't necessarily as afraid of it as other people. Like we all are afraid to fail.
Yeah,
you don't want to do
some
it.
way of your life.
Yeah.
No one wants to fail.
Failing is a shitty fucking thing, and it makes you feel terrible when you do. But it's a fucking old adage, but it's true. Like you learn so much more in failure than you do in anything else, because when you fail, the main thing you learn is the thing that didn't work. So you know how to approach it better the next time. But a lot of people are afraid to even take that first step because they're so afraid of, well, man, like, what happens if I fuck up? Or what happens if it doesn't work out? Or, you know...
Then you fuck up.
Yeah.
One big
people
mistake.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a mistake that we're here right now, really, anyways. And we just kind of lucked into this, like, that we're here right now. Honestly, like, human beings. So, I mean... You should never be afraid to want to try or like venture into something.
Yeah. And that's the thing, that people let that fear hold them back so much that they never try it. And what they don't realize is that, well, who cares if you fail? Because if you do fail, you can take a lot from it. Like you can learn a lot from failing about something.
The person that always, I would say, I don't mean to cut you off, but I would say that the person that always cares the most about if you fail is yourself. And
or at least it should be. I feel like with some people it's not the case, which
that's true. But I mean it like in a way where like where you overthink it, where you're just like, man, I don't know if, like, it could be something simple like, oh man, I'm scared to do karaoke on Thursday night. I really want to, but I'm really like scared, like I'm gonna get like laughed at or something. But like the people like out there, like they don't give a shit. Like if you go out there and like you sing bad or something, like I mean it's not like they're gonna like do anything like immediately like.
Right. And my biggest thing about that is...
in a way.
Yeah.
But you don't want to fail yourself.
Right.
And so you're scared to take that first initial leap of it.
Yeah. Well, my biggest thing about that is that, like, okay, well, you're the dude up there fucking doing it. I don't see any of those other fucking people down there, like, singing karaoke. Like, you're the guy doing it. So it's like, you already have the advantage. So who cares if you fucking fail? Like, hey, you tried. Like, maybe it didn't work out. Okay, cool. But you, at the end of the day, if you do... everything you can possibly do in a situation, and then you walk away and you fail, then you can still walk away satisfied because you're like, you know what? I did my fucking best, man. Or I put in so much fucking effort into that, and it didn't work. And okay, now I know that maybe that's not my avenue that I take. But you know what? I did way more than 90% of other people are willing to do. People are so afraid of taking that first step, they're not even going to try it. I fucking did it all, and I failed. Fuck it. Who cares? On to the next thing. Like I think that's the best way of looking at it. I think that's you can learn so much from that. I think it's very important.
Yeah, I agree, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, it's just people. I don't know. I mean,
do you think it's getting like what you can see? Do you think it's getting better or worse, or kind of really not changing that much?
I think it always changes. Like as culture changes, as people change, like, I mean, people from back then could look at this generation like, oh, they're lazy. All they do is look at their phones or blah, 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 or whatever.
It's a completely new world, too, though.
Right. Well, exactly. It's always a new world. So the people that were before them were thinking the same things about them. But,
right.
Like, it just, everyone has their own different set of circumstances. But I don't really know if it's getting better or worse. I mean, that in our little sphere of the world, I feel like it's getting a lot better. Like, I think with more, as technology grows, as freedom of information grows, as availability for these helpful resources that can plug people in that have the desire to do great things, it's even easier to get access to these things now. Like, for those people, it's only going to accelerate the things they want to do, but it also introduces an avenue where it can make it easier to not want to do anything, because I can just fuck around all day and I can just look at my phone all day and not do shit. Like, so, I mean, I think ultimately it always comes down to the person. Like, if you are motivated and you have this desire, like, you're going to find a way to make things happen. But if you're not, you're not. It doesn't matter, like, what time it is. Like, it's been the same throughout history.
Yeah. I feel like it's just really important for people to find something that they are motivated about in one way or another. Because we've talked about this a lot. One thing that I'm really big on is I feel like every person should have some kind of hobby or something that they are really legitimately passionate about, other than just, going to work every day. Because it's like, if everybody can find one thing that they are legitimately interested in and passionate about, then, like, that gives them a whole new purpose of living, and it can teach them a lot about drive, really, just what it means to work really hard towards something that you care about. I think that's really important for every person to have in one way or another. But I don't know. I see a lot of people not doing that, not trying to find something, maybe branching out a little bit to find their interest. Because, I mean, like, I have I've
got something to add on top of that whenever you're through.
Okay. Well, I mean, because, like, I have my sister, right? And, I love her to death. And she has basketball. I mean, she has, like, some sports stuff that she does. But for the most part, she's bored out of her fucking mind, because she didn't really do a whole lot. Like, she comes home and she watches Netflix and she naps. And, like, that's it. And it's not just her. There's a lot of people that do that. Mm-hmm. Like, that's their hobby, is just sitting and mindlessly watching shows all the time. Like, that's it. That's all they do. And I'm like, no. And then some people, because of that, then they're like super depressed because they feel like they don't have any meaning in life and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, dude, that's okay. No offense, but that's partly your fault, because all you're doing is just coming home, and you're not venturing out into new avenues to put your time and effort into. You're just coming home every day and tuning out of the world, like going back to the escapism thing that we talked about in the other podcast. Just, you're not really doing anything to better yourself or to find yourself. You're just mindlessly coming back you're trying to escape from life. And I feel like that's a really big problem. I feel like people need to be more in tune with that.
Yeah, I think, like, one of, like, the most, like, sad human beings, like, type of human is the one that doesn't have a hobby, where they don't have, like, anything that they like to do, like, outside of work. Like, they go to work, they clock in, they work, they clock out, they go home, they watch TV, they wake up, and they go back to work.
Yeah.
Like, there's just no substance in that type of life.
And to be fair, some people, they do enjoy that. Like, if you enjoy what you do, say, for a living, like, that is your thing, then, like, that's fine.
I'm thinking more along the lines, if you're doing, like you're in, like, the 9-to-5 rat race, where you're doing a job that you don't want to do. Like, you're just doing your job because it makes you money, and it's keeping you afloat. But if you don't have, like, something that, like, that you look forward to, like, something that you're thinking about that you want to do, like, even, like, if it's not, like, directly, like, in, like, your work or your career that you're doing, if it's not something, like, outside of work, where you're not, like, even if you're at your work and it's not what you want to do, but there should be something, like, you're thinking about, like, man, whenever I get home from work, I can't wait to, like, learn, like, that new riff that I've been trying to play on guitar or something. Or it doesn't even have to be, like, something, like, immediate, like, like that, like a typical like hobby. Like there has to be something that you want to get out of life, because what you get out of life is really kind of what you put into it. And if you don't put in any kind of like effort to learn something new or experience new things, then it's just going to be as stale as you make it.
Yeah, you're also doing yourself a big disservice, because, I mean, you miss out on a lot. There's a lot of the world to see. There's a lot of shit to do, a lot of stuff you can learn or have fun with. And if you just get caught in the... Because don't get me wrong, it's easy to do. If you work that 9 to 5, it's easy to get caught in that trap of just doing that. Just like, man, I work 9 to 5, I come home, and then I don't really feel like doing anything. But you can't let yourself get stuck in that rut, because if you do, you miss out on so fucking much. So much.
I feel like with that, the people that are in that kind of situation, they think of a hobby kind of like a chore almost, because it challenges them a little bit. Like your hobby, it doesn't have to be immediately like really challenging, but it should provide something to where there's some sort of like
everybody needs to be challenged.
Yes.
I feel like there's an inherent joy in a challenge for most people. Even if you're lazy, it might be a video game that you're playing. You get something out of feeling challenged.
Well, you get something out of beating the video game, because you like, get something out of the accomplishment.
If it's something frivolous, but I feel like it's important to challenge yourself. Like you have to put it upon yourself to seek out those challenges, because it's going to make you feel better. Yeah, it's going to make you learn new things, or just
it's just mental growth. I mean, because your brain technically, I guess, is a muscle just like any like other type of muscle in your body. And if you want your biceps to get bigger, you go and do curls. And if you want to get smarter at something, you have to do something that challenges you. And there's no like easy way around that. You can't try and cut the corners on that. You need to find something that, it doesn't have to be a big challenge, but just something like slightly that, you know, is something for you to overcome. And that just goes back to us talking about adversity. And maybe those type of people that where they do come home and they just watch like TV and then wake up, go to work, come home, eat, watch TV. Like maybe they're that type of person that doesn't want to face the adversity because they're scared of it.
And that's definitely a thing. That's very true. I don't know. I feel like the whole idea of a hobby, no matter what it is that you're doing,
you should just enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, and see, that's the thing. Like, you're gonna enjoy it, but there are gonna be those moments that are frustrating about the hobby. Like, okay, you know, you might enjoy the idea of picking up the piano and you kind of like the way or whatnot, but then halfway down the road, you get into like, man, you just really can't hit this melody right. Well, I mean, that doesn't mean you still don't enjoy it, and it's something you have to work on, and
you have to enjoy a challenge.
Yeah, and like exactly. That's where the challenge part of it comes in. It's like, well, that's the moment where it's like, hey, I still enjoy doing this, and I want to learn how to do it. Like, I have to put in the work to get better at it, and to also be able to enjoy it more. And if you stop short there, you're doing yourself a disservice. Is really what it is.
And I can go back to what Zach was talking about in school when he like studies for like 2 weeks on like an exam, and then he fails it, and then, you know, the next one like he studies even harder, and then he makes a little bit better grade. Like, that reward that you get from that, from putting in that work, is so fulfilling. It feels so good.
Oh yeah. Dude, I took this. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
You can go ahead. I was gonna start a story myself about.
Oh, okay.
I feel like it's gonna be similar.
Well, maybe. I would say one of the most fulfilling things I ever got, and it's so dumb because I didn't really even do well in that class, but I took this class at Tech, and it was just basic level accounting. But when I took the class, you know, I had my associates by the time I went to a major university, so I just jumped right into my major courses, and accounting was one of them. And I had no choice. I had to take this class with this one specific lady. Like, there was nowhere else to transfer. Everyone else was filled. Like, I had to take it with her. And I was also finance at the time, so I had to do well in this class to be able to move on to the next class. Like, there was no option. If I didn't, then I'm put behind pretty much half a semester at college. So I remember taking this class. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. And I mean, just the most evil human on the face of this earth taught that class. Like, she was fucking awful. She would do shit like, So she would give you all this homework to do, and then she wouldn't grade it at all. And then like that day in class, she'd be like, all right, hey, I want you to work these 5 problems on the board. And so like, and she's like, all right, I'll let you get in groups. And then so we would all work it. We bust our ass trying to, and she was also horrible at explaining shit too, just terrible. And then so we would do these 5 problems, and then she'd be like, all right, I'm going to take number 4, and that's 100% of your grade.
Damn.
And so you didn't get...
man, I'd be heated.
You didn't get number 4 right, or there was something slightly in there you didn't understand, you failed. That was a 0. And I mean, I freaked the fuck out about this class because it was such an important class for me to do well in. And it didn't matter what I did, I could never get ahead. So I mean, some of the other... So this is where I had to kind of sacrifice a little bit, because it was like some of those other classes I could have easily aced that semester. I had to put on the back burner and just make B's in because I had to put so much time and effort into just passing this class. Like, just to pass it. And like, for me, school has never been a challenge for me, really, because I've always been pretty good at it. But this class was so... I was legitimately worried I was going to fail it. And I couldn't. That wasn't an option. So, I mean, every day, come home, like, go back to my dorm and just fucking read the textbook. Like, word for word, just sit there and fucking drill in my brain. Like, some of the people I met in college wanted to go out and have fun. I'm like, I can't. I got to study for accounting. They're like, dude, you're always studying for accounting. I'm like, I know. And so, yeah, I had to make B's in some of those other classes. And so I remember taking the final, and like I had to make like an 80 or something on the final to pass the class. Like, I was studying my dick into the dirt, and that's what I had to make to fucking pass the class. And by the end of it, like, I had done it, and I made a 75 in the class. Dude, when I saw that 75, I was absolutely elated. Like, I didn't give a shit it was a 75. I put in so much fucking work to just to pass it. And honestly, it was a miracle that I passed that class because it was so fucking hard. Most difficult class I've ever taken in my entire life. Like, 10 times harder than Wiley. So fucking hard. But, like, that was what I could do. That's what I put all my fucking time and effort into. And at the end of the day, like, I set out to do exactly what I was. It was like, hey, like, this class is hard. You got to fucking pass it. It doesn't matter what it takes. You got to. And so maybe my GPA took a hit. And maybe I could have made some A's in some of those other classes that I couldn't put as much time that I wanted to into, but I didn't fucking fail that class. Like, I did everything I could have possibly done to fucking pass that class, and I was so proud of myself when I made that 75.
Right. It's because like, it's because it's something that it's a personal goal that you set.
Yeah.
And you achieved it, and doing that is so rewarding.
And even more rewarding because it was very difficult.
Yeah.
If it was just a class you're taking and it was a total fuck off class where, like, they're like, hey, this is the study guide, this is the exam. All you have to do is remember the study guide, and this is the exam. I've had classes like that. Mm-hmm. Like, that's not learning. Like, that's not
right.
how,
like,
that's not how life should be. It's not how college should be.
Right. And you make, like, an A in that class, and you're just like, okay, yeah, that's what I expected. But when you have, like, a class like he described, and then you make, like, that C, and it's not obviously the best grade, but it's something that, you know, it's not what you immediately wanted, like, at the beginning of the semester, but you put your nose to the grindstone and you put in the work to, you know, in his case, pass the class, which is what he wanted to do, and he did it. And that is so much more rewarding than getting the easy handout A.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, obviously, the easy handout A has its spot for everybody.
Right. It's nice.
You love it. Yeah. You love it to be there, but what you really get out of the experience is these things, because it's something that you still talk about because it was so rewarding and you learned so much from it. Like, that's what college should be, is you have something that you don't think that you work your ass off, you stress out, you fucking put in long nights, you go to bed worried, you wake up worried, and that fear of failure motivates you into a necessity that I have to get this done. I can't. I have to study tonight. I can't go do that thing. And when you pull it off, I mean, that's what college is all about, is that feeling that you get that you worked your ass off and you accomplished your goal. Like, that's what sets the stage for everything else. Like, that's just what you have to do with everything.
To piggyback on that, before you started your story, and I was going to say mine.
Yeah, I was going to ask you with yours. Yeah.
I was going to, and I said, I have a feeling that these are going to be fairly similar. Like, I don't know about that. They are almost identical.
Really? Okay.
So
all right.
I had this, the hardest class that I've taken in college by far. It was my junior year, and it was a senior level course. It was just criminal law, and my major is criminal justice. So this is like the most, like, besides like the internship class I have to take next semester, is like probably the most like important, like content wise, and like maybe not necessarily grade wise, because you know most people don't look at like your each individual grade for like a certain course in the field I'm going into. But I knew I was like, this is a really important class. I need to do well. And when I get there the first day, this teacher, I have never been intimidated by someone under 5 foot more than this woman. Like just this little old woman. And like when she gets in there and she's like starts going over the syllabus, she's like so like old school, like hardcore, like, you don't wear hats in my class. That's my rules. And if you don't like it, you can change your schedule. You will not chew bubble gum in my class. You won't overtalk me, like type of things. And she is just flopping her dick out on the table, just laying the fucking hammer down. And I'm just sitting there just like petrified in my seat. I'm just like, well, I mean, I'm going to fail. I'm like, this is gonna be the hardest.
I can't wear my hat. This is bullshit. This is not a learning environment.
I was like, I mean, this is going to be the hardest class ever. And there was a few kids that had like I say kids, there's a few people in that class that had her before, and they're like taking her again. And I didn't get it like at first. And we're like, and when I go through the class, and there's a lot of times like when Zach said, like, you get that easy A and you don't learn anything, because there's a lot of class. I'd say definitely the majority of classes I've taken where I didn't learn really much. But in this class, like, you either learn it or you fail. And that's the way it is. And she forced you to be super interactive with your class. Like, you had to talk, like, continue on, like, a conversation or, like, a discussion in class, like, at least, like, 3 times. And she would, like, note it down. And if you didn't, like, you would lose, like, participation grades for that day. And that's something that no one wants to do.
Right.
And she forces you out of your comfort zone. But the biggest thing that like worried us in that class is she's like, your final grade, she's like, for your final, you either do like a 15-page like research paper, or you participate in a mock trial. And it's just like it's exactly like you would have like a courtroom trial, except, you know, it's just you're playing in the roles of whatever position you're in. And most people did that. And I'm thinking, like, in my head, I'm like, okay, I mean, it's just like a pretend like court thing, like how like serious can it be? And like she made us go to one of them that was for one of her other classes, and this bitch had it on lock. Like we had this like this room like at the school, and like I don't know, some like building they had, but they had it like set up where there's a judge stand, there's like jury boxes, and there's like a section for the whole jury to like stand in. They had like a jury of like students, and then anyone else that wanted to participate. And like she would invite like her like friends and family, and like encourage like the students like to invite like their friends and family, and there's like 50 people like in attendance of it. Like it's like, and she would get I remember whenever I did mine, it was a defense attorney from Rockwall County that was as the judge, so it was like it was the real fucking deal. And I'm sitting there and like I watch it, and like we all watch it, I'm just sitting there thinking, I'm like, oh my god, I can't do this. Like, this is going to be so tough. And to context for that, I missed the day where we assigned, like, the roles of, like, whatever position you wanted to be. And so I got stuck with defense attorney. And, like,
holy shit.
I had to learn.
Fucking Tom Cruise in A Few Good Men.
I'll get to that. And, like, I swear, like, and she didn't, like, really teach us, like, our positions, like, in that class. Like, she wasn't like, okay, well, today I'm gonna like teach all the defense attorneys how to be a defense attorney, like type of thing. Like she like encouraged, she's like, you're gonna have to figure this out like kind of on your own. She's like, use your textbook, use other resources to learn how to do this. And I had to teach myself how to be a defense attorney for the day. And like the whole like month like before like it happened, like I was studying every single day, like going over like the facts like in this case. And like it sounds like silly, but like it felt like so real,
like a real lawyer.
Yeah, like I felt like a real fucking lawyer. Like I would be like sitting at home, like, and we had like all these like, it's all like made up like evidence and like scenarios and stuff, but
it's like mock trial.
Yeah,
basically, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is. But I'm like nitpicking through like all this evidence and like highlighting things and like formulating like questions for like every single witness, and I still have the binder in my room because I didn't want to get rid of it whenever I was done with the class because of how proud I was of it. But like I remember the day before my trial was the next day, and the day before I was in the library from 8 a.m. till 10 p.m. just going over everything. And that night I was like watching like all like these like motivation like videos on like YouTube and shit. Like I have to like pump myself up, and like the next day like my class was at like 3, and like I woke up at like 8 and like made myself like a fucking like power breakfast and shit. I watched fucking A Few Good Men. I was feeling myself.
Okay,
I was getting fired up.
You're watching the fucking courtroom section of Pornhub.
Oh my god. Yeah, dude, you got to get that post nut clarity.
Fucking method acting. Jesus Christ.
Well, we had to like dress up for it too. I felt like I was like a method actor. Like I had to like put myself into the shoes of a defense attorney. And when like I got to like before I left my house, I'm like reviewing everything, and I'm like thinking in my head, I'm like, in an hour and a half, you're gonna be in front of a room of like 75 people, like acting as like a real like defense attorney in a fake situation. And I was like, and I threw up before I left house because I was so fucking nervous.
Yeah, Jesus Christ! Wow. Honestly.
Oh, it was so horrible. And like when I got there, and like I didn't do like fantastic or anything, but like, you know, I did okay. And like they had to split up into 3 different groups. The group before me did really good, and I was super intimidated by that. I was like, wow, I got to follow up these fucking guys. I'm like, should have went first. But like the group that went after me was just like a total shit show. And she was like talking to all of us afterwards. She's like, first group did awesome. Second group, she's like, y'all did pretty good. She was like, you actually like learned the material. She's like, not the best. And she gave us like a 90, like 1 or something on it. And she was like, the last group, I don't even want to talk to you, and like type of thing. But like after I did it and like I got done, and like we ended up like winning like our court case. Like I was a defense attorney, and they found like my client like not guilty. Like I felt so fucking good from this because I put in so much work for this one part of this one class, and it felt incredible when I got it.
You should be a lawyer, dude.
Oh my god. The amount of work I had to do for a fake trial. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Chandler's hair went fucking gray for that one. I don't know if you can continue that.
Yeah, dude. Imagine the fucking adrenaline rush of
like
doing it in real life.
Like there's a part of it that was like really fun, and there's like times where I kind of enjoyed doing it, but I don't think I could do it for my whole life. But it's that type of thing where it was such a big like daunting task, and you can just be like, well, I mean, I'm not going to be able to do this. I'm going to fucking fail. And you get up there and don't know anything, but I rose to the occasion. I learned my shit, and it wasn't, the perfect like outcome. I wasn't, fucking legally blonde up there, but I held my own, and I knew my shit well enough that I got an A on my presentation for it. And it felt fucking incredible. I felt like the king of the world that day. Like, I remember, like, driving home from school, and I'm, like, windows are down. I'm fucking, like, blaring the radio, like, fucking, like, screaming, like, the top of my lungs. I felt so fucking good. And it makes, like, all that, like, month of work before that, it justifies it. It feels so incredible.
And you didn't get anything, like, that's important, because you didn't receive anything monetary out of this. It's literally the feeling of a job well done.
Yeah.
That made you feel like a fucking king going down the road, fucking flipping people off in traffic because you have the biggest set of nuts in the world.
Yeah, I could barely walk in my car that day. I'm walking down the hallway like fucking like this. I couldn't even contain myself.
Goddamn fucking wheelbarrow to get your nuts out of the building.
Dude, that's fucking awesome though. Like, congrats, man. That's a really cool story.
Well, that's something that, I mean, that just goes back to what we talked about earlier. Like, I didn't get anything from it. I got a good grade, which, I mean, is really good for me, and I was glad that I got it. But, someone else could, like, see, like, that, and I could tell that story and be like, I mean, you did, like, so much for, like, so little. But if you don't experience, like, even just, like, one time, if you just put in the work for something, like, it doesn't even have to really be a big thing. But if you just set a goal, like something that you have to work for, and you work for it and you achieve it, oh my God, it feels so good. And then you just want to do it again.
Yeah.
And you apply that to other avenues of your life that need work, and then you set goals for them, and then you achieve them, and then you feel good, and then you feel better about life in general.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I feel like people if you don't put yourself out there enough, maybe you have gone through a phase where you have found that you're not very good at certain things, and you get discouraged, and maybe you don't even like doing it, and so you're like, well, whatever, I don't like doing this shit. Like, I like playing Fortnite, and I'm just gonna play fucking Fortnite all the time. Like, for 99% of people, like, that's not a successful route. But
the 1% is Ninja.
Yeah, exactly. And for him, it clearly
great for him.
Out.
Not gonna work for everyone else.
Yeah, but if you continue to put yourself in a position where you are giving yourself a chance to be good, to find your niche, find what you're good at, because you might not be good at any of these things. You might find out you're fucking really good at, I don't know, choir, and then you do pretty good at choir, and then you're like, oh, this feels good because I'm doing well in this, and it makes you want to do it again, and then it might be hard, and you're gonna want to work harder because you have had that taste of what it feels like to achieve or to go beyond maybe your own expectations, and it's just gonna motivate you to continue doing more things. But if you've never had like that feeling of any kind of success or interest or any of those things, if you just feel like you're completely just in a rut and you're just doing shit to fucking, you're just going with the motions, like, yeah, I can understand why you don't want to work hard because you're not getting anything out of it. Like, if you work hard and you're doing horrible or something and you never get out of this slump, like, it can be a pretty big beatdown. But some people just have to find their niche of, like, what they like to do. Like, I love the idea of being good at guitar, but I haven't went out and put forth effort to try to get better at that. It's just something that, I personally have not assigned effort towards being good at. But I feel like if anyone assigned a lot of effort towards something that they genuinely liked and enjoyed,
fucking big ass,
they're going to get better at it. Like, and you're going to enjoy it. You're going to get better. If you like doing it, you're going to want to keep doing it. You're going to want to be motivated. But I don't know. I feel like some people just, they're like, oh, well, I'm not good at basketball, so I'm
not good at anything.
Right. Yeah. No, exactly. Like, yeah. I'm not good at anything. Like, I suck. Like, I'm just a piece of shit or something. Like,
it's very easy to beat yourself up.
Yeah. I feel like some people just, they get more beat up over things than others. And I don't know, like back to what we're saying, I don't know what causes that. I feel like maybe it is, like, genetic. Like, you are more, you are more susceptible to being beaten down by failure than others. Like, some people, they fail and they're like, well, you know what, I'm just going to try harder next time. And some people fail and they're like, I'm a piece of shit. Like, I hate myself. Like, and it sucks, but I don't really know how you would bridge that gap, like, because some people just fall off the deep end. If they fail once, like, they assign this that I'm a failure.
It looms over them, like this label of that you failed at this one thing, that you are a failure.
I feel like it just depends on how secure you are as a person, like in who you are. Because I feel like if you're more of an insecure type of person, then when you do fail at something, you're going to take it a lot harder than someone who's, like, comfortable with themselves and who they are. Because then they're like, because then those are the people who are like, okay, well, that sucked. All right, on to the next thing. Like, let me try again or whatever. But the people who are more insecure are the ones that are going to be like, so then they take that really uncomfortable step of branching out, and then they fail, and they're like, well, see, I shouldn't have done that anyway. Like, I fucking knew I couldn't do that. God damn it, I tried, and I fucking, look, I made a fool of myself, so I'm not going to do that again. Like, I feel like that probably has a lot to do with it.
I feel like it's similar to the karaoke thing. Like, I feel like there are some people that if you went out and you went out for a karaoke night, there's always, like, the one guy that's like, yeah, fuck yeah, man, I'll go up and do a song, and he's fucked around, and maybe he makes a jackass of himself. Like, maybe he just, like, gets too much dip on his chip, and he's up there, and everyone's fucking looking at him like, who's this fucking guy?
I don't think I've ever heard that.
Me either. It's been around Twitter. But, yeah, like, and if that were me, like, if I had went out there and I'd put myself on the line and I'm going to try to be fun and adventurous and everyone was looking at me like, who the fuck's this guy? Like, I'd be, like, trying to figure out, like, if we're walking outside, how I can somehow get hit by a car. But like some people are just like, haha, they laugh it off and then they don't care. They go do another thing. Like, I mean, and I feel like with us, there are things that, we don't completely fall out of everything. Like if we fail at something, like we try for more things, but I'm definitely not in a place in my life where I just feel super comfortable, like taking leaps. Like, I mean, and I don't even do them. Like karaoke is a great example because I feel like when I was younger, it'd be like karaoke would be like, fuck yeah, dude, I'm going to go up and have fun and I'm going to enjoy myself, and that energy is going to translate to other people and they're going to have fun and it's just going to be a big thing. But now I'm like, what are they thinking of me? Like, how you internalize shit. And
we just need to get hammered one day and just go do karaoke. All those practice sessions of harmonizing Queen in the car, it's gonna pay off. You know what? I brought it up for this reason. Let's go do karaoke.
Well, dude, I mean,
you know what? I would be down. Yeah,
blackout drunk. But if I am at all sober, I will not go near the microphone.
I actually put my name in for that. I did. I put my name in for that one bar we went to. It was the comedy club or whatever in Dallas that one time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was fun.
I put my name in for that because they were doing karaoke. I'm like, I'm going to fucking go up there and do karaoke. But then we didn't stay long enough. I'm like, okay. So then we just left. But I was like, yeah, I was totally fucking down, which it's funny because, me being musically inclined, I actually have like a pretty big fear of crowds. Like that's one of my like irrational fear. Like I am so unbelievably nervous speaking in front of people, like hardcore. Like I remember in college, like to do presentations, I would rehearse my presentation. I'm not even kidding, like over 100 times because I was just so nervous about speaking in front of people. I'm like, I'm not gonna fuck this up. I'm gonna go up there and do it. So so I remember that night I just threw my name in there. I was like, fuck it, yeah, I'm going up there. Like let's fucking do this shit. And yeah, we left early, but whatever. But I'm down to fucking go. Let's go do some fucking karaoke, man.
I'm down. I'm gonna have to get a few in me.
A lot of places that we could go for karaoke.
Do you?
I do. A lot of because karaoke is a lot bigger in Asian culture.
Yes.
So I've been to a lot of Asian places where they just have like it's just a restaurant, but they have karaoke shit set up and like. That doesn't happen at a goddamn TGI Fridays. like no white motherfucker eating his Salisbury steak and shit wants to go up and go sing. But at these places, they have like $4 shots of Crown and shit, and then next thing you know, you're screaming in a room.
I mean, that's the only end result from a $4 shots of Crown. I mean, it's just gonna end in someone singing. I mean, that's the only route. You gotta have karaoke.
Yes, or fucking...
Or a brawl.
I was just saying either that or getting into a fight with random fucking people in the streets.
I mean, it's one or the other. You're gonna
a lot of times.
You're gonna harmoniously sing with a group of strangers, or you're going to try and beat every stranger's ass you see. Alcohol's a fickle bitch.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely should do it because it's...
I think it'd be fun.
It'd be fun.
I
mean, it's not something that like we would like go do like by ourselves, but like when you're like with your group of friends, like it's like such like innocent like kind of fun too, because I mean like no one expects you to get up there and fucking blow it out of the fucking park. Like the expectation is for you to make a fool of yourself.
This shit fucking sucks. Fuck
like,
you.
Like everyone knows like when you go and do that, like you're not gonna hear fucking the next Freddie Mercury. You're gonna hear some shit, but I feel like that's kind of like how
that's
like
why
what
karaoke's fun is that it's usually pretty shitty. Like if you're going to a karaoke where people are really trying, like that's not for everyone. Like that's for people that like singing in public and they want to show off their singing voice. If you go to a bar where they have karaoke and you fucking are just in a room with your friends, it's who can pick the dumbest ass song that they can possibly pick. And
yeah. Well, I was gonna say that kind of goes back to what Trevor was talking about when he says like finding like that comfortability level, and that's it's just a good example of like when you can just like turn it off and you just say fuck it, I don't care, I'm gonna make a fool of myself and I'm gonna enjoy the hell out of myself in the process.
Right. Well, what you'll find more than anything is that you are actually your biggest critic, because people, no matter what room you, and like I'll admit, I'll be the first to admit that I care a lot about what people think about me. And that's one of my big flaws.
Everyone does.
Yeah, and like
I think at some point.
Yeah, that's one of my big flaws. But I also am able to recognize that that's a bullshit thing that I should flaw myself on, because no matter what room you walk into, people are already judging you. People will judge you for fucking dumb shit, just absolutely dumb shit. So it doesn't matter what you do. Someone's always gonna be like, oh, well, that's fucking stupid or whatever. So like, you might as well just tune out the bullshit. And like, at the end of the day, they don't care that much. Like, they'll have that thought like, huh, you remember that dumb guy or whatever, but like, they're not gonna remember you 5 years down the road, a year down the road for the shit that you do.
Let those small little grievances that you think of dictate your life and how you live it.
Yeah, no, not at all. It's like they're not gonna fucking, they don't really care that much. Like, in the moment, that might be like, well, they might think like, oh, well, that guy's kind of weird or whatever, but that's literally it. Like, it doesn't cause you any harm, so it doesn't matter what other people think of you. Just fucking do the shit that you want to do, man.
Okay, this is kind of related, but me, Trevor, Sawyer, and John were out the other day in Deep Ellum.
Was that John?
No,
it wasn't John. It was
me, you, and Sawyer?
Fisk. It was Fisk.
Oh yeah, okay.
It was Fisk.
Okay.
Oh boy.
Okay, so it was me, Trevor, Fisk, and Sawyer, and we were in Deep Ellum. Like, we were.
This was when you had your housewarming
yes.
thing. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yes, it was.
So we had already been drinking, and fucking everyone was just kind of got the idea like, let's just go out. And so we went out there, and we literally had like an hour and a half or something before the bar was
like an hour maximum. There wasn't a whole lot of time.
So we get to the first place, and we get there, and we're all in line, and we're just like, whatever, getting some drinks, and we look over, and there's this motherfucker that is tearing the dance floor apart. but everyone's hyping him up, but it's like, you can tell that it's kind of like a joke hyping him up, because he just kept trying to do handstands and shit, and he was just really fucking hammered. And I'm like, I'm over there, and we're talking about it, and this dude just like looks like a complete dumbass. And I'm like, dude, this motherfucker's probably on fucking mushrooms. Like, that's how.
He's probably on like fucking ecstasy or something. He like thinks like he's like doing like the greatest dance like ever conceived.
Let's do the rest of the story.
So we're all kind of drunk, and he comes over, and he like does a handstand. He kind of falls over, and he's kind of staggering towards our side of the little group or whatever. And we're just kind of like, we're like high-fiving him and shit. We're like, yeah, man, like, you're kicking ass or whatever. Like, we're like, I was like, man, how you doing that? Like, and he's like, look, man, I'm gonna be honest, man. It's the power of the mushrooms. And he gets up, and he's like looking at us, and he's like,
he's fucking bug-eyed,
dude.
Pupils are non-existent.
Dude, he was not in the same place as us. Like, he might have been on the top of that bar, but he was somewhere else. And he was like,
good for him.
It's the power of the mushrooms.
Good for him.
He's like, and he was having the time of his life. And we were like, as soon as he said that, like, he was trying to talk to us serious, and we were all just like almost on the ground fucking laughing.
It was fucking hilarious.
Because we were just talking about how that dude's probably on fucking mushrooms, and he comes over and he's talking about the power of the mushrooms. and he's like, yeah, man, I've never done this before, but I'm just doing handstands and shit.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh,
literally, like, he said he had never danced before, because Sawyer was like fucking with him, man. He's like, hey, man, are you a professional? He's like, oh, no, dude, it's the mushrooms. Like, it was hilarious. It was so funny.
Yeah,
even if like you're not under the influence of drugs, if you can't just cut loose and be stupid, like, it doesn't even have to be with your friends. Just be like genuine and yourself, and just have fun. And if you're too scared to have fun because of how other people perceive how other people will think about you, then that's just. It's no fun, and it's just so shitty.
That's just not the way you should live.
No, that's not how life is meant to be lived.
It's easier said than done, obviously.
Yeah, no,
right.
Yeah, and it's something because, like, when you live life, you kind of fall into complacency here and there, and it's something that it's a difficult mindset to get into some days, because, like, you go and you have a bad day at work or whatever the fuck it is, and you're like, man, this just. I feel like I just can't be myself, or what? Are you feeling insecure about one thing or another? But when you just let all the bullshit go, and you just maybe you're a couple drinks in or whatever, and you
like a few grams of mushrooms,
fucking shitload of mushrooms in, and you're just like, you just finally let go and you detach. It's such a liberating feeling, because you're like, I can just be me, and
it's weightless almost.
Yes,
because you
exactly.
don't have like this heavy burden of how you perceive others' judgment onto you.
Yeah.
And you're just living in that moment and being yourself.
But honestly, I found this to be true sometimes too, because I mean, it kind of depends on what you're doing, but sometimes even if you were going in with the idea that I am deliberately trying to impress people by what I'm doing, even if you even if you achieve that and you impress the people that you're trying to impress, sometimes it's not even as satisfying as you think it's going to be, because ultimately you're more concerned about what others think of you rather than your own experience, and you're like, you might as well have just had fun and done what you wanted to do, but man, I concern myself with what that one guy thought of me. Oh, he thought I was pretty cool. Oh, well, that's good. And you just kind of are like, okay, yeah, mission accomplished. Instead of like, I should have been fucking dancing this whole time, not worrying about it, having a good time, and then letting those things happen naturally.
Yeah.
Like, because people like that. Like, you know, some people are going to shit on you, and that's the hardest part to get over in the beginning, is that people are always going to shit on you for going out of the norm. Like, if you're the guy that goes up and does karaoke, you know, there are going to be people that are going to be like, oh yeah, he's got to get up here and do that. But then at the end of the day, those are the people that you're going to respect more because they put themselves out there. Like,
yeah, no, I mean, yeah, 100%.
It's kind of like Post Malone right now. Like, Post Malone has become a really successful. He's like one of the top rap artists. At the beginning, people were making fun of him. He was like this goofy fucking white dude with cornrows and with a grill, and everyone thought he was the next Riff Raff. But then he just kept being himself. He's just like, this is just how he is.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, wow, like, I can feel that that's genuine, and then people start relating to it, and then they support it. Like,
yeah.
But if you had just heard their initial reaction, if you were him and you're like, okay, I gotta change this, like, I gotta be what they want, like, you're not gonna get to where you would have been if you would have just been yourself.
Yeah.
Isn't it kind of weird how you can always, like, not always, but usually the majority of the time, you can always kind of see that veil between authenticity and what someone else has created?
Well, there's a lot of times where it's more obvious than others, but yeah, there's always just like a general feeling that, like, you can tell they're being disingenuous.
You can't really like say like it's one thing or another, but you just know.
Dude, it happened all the time, like in class and stuff, like where particularly I would be in a, like you were saying, like sociology, right? I would be in a sociology class, and I would genuinely, like, I took one sociology class. It was like an elective because I had to take it for like a university thing, you know, just like everyone has to take like bullshit classes that aren't related to their majors. And I took a sociology class for like a writing credit, and I took it, and I genuinely, like, I learned a lot from that class because the professor was awesome. He was knowledgeable. He was just awesome. And I would be in class, and people would raise their hand, and they would ask a question, and I knew that they were not asking that question because they were genuinely curious about this one thing, but they were asking the question because they wanted to give off this impression that, oh yeah, I know, I'm gonna pose this interesting question for the professor, for like, and I'm gonna try to seem like I'm. I don't know. Like, I've had people throughout like high school, college,
kind of like they're like trying to put forth this.
It's like a big
prospect
facade
of like pseudo intellectualism, like type of thing.
Yeah, and you know it's bullshit, and it's not even like related to what we're talking about. It's just like, I'm just gonna throw this out there, like,
yeah, they just throw like some oddball thing out of left field,
right? And it's like, you know, if you were genuinely like interested in this thing and you really wanted to learn, that's one thing. But I know that's not the case. I know it's just because you want to hear yourself talk in front of the whole class, like, and you know instantly. And yeah, like, exactly. I feel like you know instantly, like, you know those certain situations.
I had that happen quite a few times in college, and it was always so nice, like watching the professor just like take a shit on them or something. Like if they like trying to like come up with like some bullshit thing, and I'm just sitting there like not saying anything. I'm just sitting in my desk, and I'm just like waiting for the professor to like say something, and then they just like go off on them. Like they're not like excessively like mean to him, but they just like, you know, out like they just show them like how they're wrong and like what they're saying or something, and the kid's just like, okay, and then just like don't say a peep for the rest of the class. I'm just sitting there just like this, and in my head I'm like, you fucking get him, professor. You bust his ass. Yeah. Show him what's up.
I literally this one sociology class, someone asked a question, and they asked a question that he had already like discussed like 5 times, but they were asking a question that I don't even think it was because they weren't paying attention. It was just because they wanted to just throw bullshit out there to try to seem smart in front of the class and continue the conversation more. And the professor was like, we've discussed this ad nauseum for the past 30 minutes. We're gonna move on. He literally just went straight. Yeah, and you're just sitting there like.
I think the most memorable thing from that in my college experience, it wasn't because someone was trying to be like super smart, but they were just so painstakingly dumb. Like, the professor had no choice but to put him 6 feet under. Like, someone had to do it. And it was like, and this happened in the same class, and we were talking, it was a sociology class. We were talking about like something. I think it was when Bill O'Reilly was like going through like his like sex scandal like charges thing, and he was like talking about like Bill O'Reilly or something. She was like, is that the dude with like does the talk show like with the red hair? And he's just like, no. He's like, he's an old man. And she's like, and just like thinking about it, he's like, are you thinking of Conan O'Brien? She's like, oh yeah, that's him. I'm just like, okay, you know what, I can see it. You might not be knowledgeable about that. And oh my god, like 10 minutes later, like just down the fucking rabbit hole. Like I forget like how we got on the discussion. We were just like going off topic. We were talking about like conspiracy theories or something. We were talking about like a JFK like conspiracy or something, and he was talking about like trajectory of like a bullet, or like how like it didn't match up or something. I don't know. The context of that's not important. But the girl just like raises her hand, and she's just kind of like as soon as I see that hand go up, I'm like, here we fucking go. And she's like, okay, so this is gonna sound stupid. And as soon as she said this, I was like, oh,
which 100% of the time, something dumbass is going to come after it.
I'm just sitting here in class, just not making any movements, like no facial emotions. I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, my brain's not ready. And she's like, so if you like shot a bullet up in the air, would it come back down and could it like hit and kill someone? And I'm sitting there like, kind of like, I'm like diagonally like behind her, and I'm sitting here like this, just like, and the professor just like as calmly as he can just says, so when you throw a baseball like up in the air, does it come back down? She's like, yeah. He's like, have you ever thrown anything into the air and not seen it come back down? She's like, no. He's like, all right, that's gravity. Next question. And I'm just like sitting there just like trying my hardest not to bust out laughing. But like that type of thing like I hear in like college is what disheartens me the most. I'm just like, how did you get here? How do you have a license? How did you drive to school? Like, how are you surviving? Like,
dude, that was honestly, what's funny is that for me, the only time that I had that feeling was in sociology. And I mean, there are people that
both sociology classes
that are very knowledgeable and very committed to that, and they put forth the work and they do a lot of good things. But
it's kind of like a filler subject.
Yeah. And I remember that exact thought. I was sitting here thinking, and I'm like, because, math and science are just objective. There's no question of, well, what if this? Like, it's not what if this, or, well,
yeah,
I think this. Like, there's no you think. Like, it's either this or no. There's no you think. Like,
well, all of, like, sociology and any kind of, like, social science like that usually is a lot of gray area.
Yeah, that's where you get into the bullshit where people start asking just dumbass questions and, well, this doesn't really align with what I think, and I want what I think to be validated in front of the whole class when really it has no basis in reality. But I feel like I have a right to have my thoughts validated, and then the professor who has actual knowledge just says, "Hey, go fuck yourself. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about, and I'm just gonna move on and disregard your question because you're dumb as hell." And then they just have to sit there. Like, it's like the most glorious feeling. Like, they just sit there, and they're, after they get done asking a dumbass question, the professor just blows by, and they're just like,
and then they don't say anything for the rest of the class.
Yeah, they just are completely shut down, and it's
bodied, bodied.
It's kind of adrenaline. Like,
it is.
I love it.
It's because it's all the things like I wanted to say, but I can't really say to like a fellow student. But the professor does it for me, and he's just speaking through me. I'm just like, yes, yes.
Brings it to the most important question: what conspiracies do you think are actually true?
Oh, God damn it.
Do you have any that you think that...
Before we get into that,
hold on.
Before we get into that, I was gonna say, on the flip side of like the sociology, like the gray area thing where people can just go off the rails with it. I was gonna say with this same professor that like bodied this fucking other girl because she was just asking absurd questions. That was the most fun I had like in a class because it was a lot of gray area, but like when we had writing assignments, like he gave you like really kind of like ultimate freedom, really. Like he gave you a rough topic to write about. Like I remember the first one was like write something that's familiar to you and unusual to like most other people, like type of things like that. Or he would say like write a paper about religion, and it was like so broad, but it like gave me like such freedom that I could like express like ideas and like thoughts that like I wouldn't be able to like put into like another kind of class, and it was kind of liberating in that way. And he would always tell me, he's like, "Hey man, I really enjoy like reading your papers," and he would like leave me like long notes, or like I'd see him after class. He's like, "Hey man," he's like, "keep it up." He's like, "These are good. Like these are pretty interesting." I'm like, "I enjoy writing them." I'm like, "It's fun." So I think it can go both ways too.
I feel like we've had the exact same experiences with a sociology class because, like I said, the professor was really cool, and I feel like. And like I said, I feel like this was like an easy class for me because it was just like from engineering to that was just like such a complete, like it's the opposite end of the spectrum. Mm-hmm. But it was kind of fun because it was something so different that it got to like, I got to use parts of my brain that I hadn't used since high school.
Right.
And so like, yeah, when we write papers, like he would leave me notes like, this is excellent, like, you're spot on with this or something, or like I would come talk to him after class and he'd be like that's really interesting what you brought up. And it's not like the gray area does introduce some creativity where you can kind of like make some good conclusions, but
it
some
does
people
provide
just
an
don't know how
avenue
to handle that fucking freedom.
They get lost in the sauce.
Yeah.
All right, well, I hate to cut you boys off. I know you wanted to get into the conspiracy theory segment, but we've hit our mark like half an hour ago, A. And then B, I'm not going to have much memory left on that camera, so we're not going to be able to go any further.
And C, I have to be in work in 4 hours.
Which, that is ludicrous. But yeah, so we're going to go ahead and cut it off here. Is there anything you guys want to like, you want to plug? Any social media or anything like that? Chandler's social media free, so we don't need to worry about him. Zach, is there anything you want to plug as far as?
No, I don't have any revenue streams that I could.
Okay.
No big influence.
Yeah.
All right, what about, all right, so we got to give like a recommendation. Anyone got any ideas?
For like movies or like
anything,
music or something?
Anything at all?
We could go with what we've been talking about as a group of friends recently is most of us have seen the movie Midsommar, directed by Ari Aster. It just came out in theaters.
A lot of people are calling it Midsommar, but yeah.
Technical pronunciation is Midsommar, but you can call it whatever you want. But it's really oddball kind of movie. Not everyone's going to like it, but it's worth a watch if you want something to break up the monotony of normal horror tropes.
Okay. I'm probably going to recommend Gary Vaynerchuk, if people who don't know who that is. A lot of what we talked about is actually, there's a lot of points that guy hits on, and he's like, he got really famous off of, think he was like a wine guy first, and now he's this super big entrepreneur, and he also does a lot of motivational speaking. And if you're into things kind of like that, he says a lot of the same things that what we said in this podcast. He's a very inspirational dude, so I recommend going and listening to a lot of his shit. He typically just goes by Gary V, but really cool dude. You should listen to him. Zach, you got anything?
I don't. I wasn't prepared for a recommendation.
You haven't been watching the podcast then, Zach.
Yeah, I on the practice one, we didn't do that. We just kind of cut it. So I'm just I don't know. I'll make a recommendation list.
Yeah, Zach recommends just being a badass. That's all he can give up. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning in to the 4th episode of the Modern Goonies podcast. Like I said, we are now on Spotify. We will be on iTunes. That's pretty much it. Go if you have any questions or comments, or if you ever just want to be like, hey, you guys are fucking idiots about this or whatever, you can email us at moderngoonies@gmail.com. We don't have a website yet, but we will eventually. So stay tuned for the next episode, which is now bi-weekly, which that one will air like fucking mid-August or something like that. We're so far ahead, I don't really even know. So yeah, keep tuned. Like, share, subscribe, all that good shit.
I'd also like to say, sorry to cut you off, but if you are watching on YouTube and you got something to say, don't feel discouraged to drop something into the comments, because most of our friend group pays attention to it, and if you put forth some idea that challenges one of ours or piggyback something else, I'm sure you'll get a good response from it from one of us.
And we'll put you on full blast and just roast your ass the entire time.
If it calls for it, so you better watch out.
Yeah, no, we encourage comments and shit like that. So yeah, like, share, subscribe, comment, anything like that. Thank you so much for tuning in to the 4th episode, and we'll see you guys next time.
See you later, guys. That was good.
I feel like it was pretty good, yeah.
That was good.